Morning, all.
Morning, everybody. That's right. Top of the morning to you.
Amazing community.
Very active this morning. You guys are jumping right in.
I tell you. So it's today hump day. That's funny. Although it's a 3-day week, so it is. But also last Tuesday. Last Wednesday, I thought it was Tuesday. Whew. Happy Thanksgiving, Estero. Right. Hump day. Yeah. Oh, boy.
Are you serious?
What's wrong?
Oh, nothing. Just
Okay.
insurance people.
Oh.
I have new home insurance. Apparently, they have to do an inspection on my roof. Why, I don't know.
Well, good luck. It's pretty high. Knock yourself out. You can take my word for it, or, be careful. I hope so, Coffin Ball. What are they, 20-point favorites? Seems a little high to me. That's a sign of disrespect right there. Yeah, J.K. Dobbins. Hope it's not serious.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floormeister Studios. Floormeisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you on this final Tuesday of November. It's the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, an abbreviated week for us. Hope your week got off to a good start. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton. MillerandMoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Thanks so much for being with us. Man, did a lot go on in the sports world yesterday. A lot. Wow. Not only is there meat on the bone, there's a couple extra wings with the order this morning, Mark. Top of the morning to you. How are you?
I'm doing well, David. You had an entertaining, 3 quarters, I would say, but the Ravens just took care of business in the second half. After a great first half, the Ravens dominated the second half, got out to a pretty big lead, and now are looking at Pittsburgh saying, ready for the rematch?
Ravens had 20 yards on their first 2 possessions and then weren't stopped for 2 hours. Scored 5 consecutive times. And, both teams really, it's not like the Ravens did a tremendous job stopping the Chargers. They just held them to field goals until the very end. Those that stuck with the game to the bitter end were overjoyed, if you catch my drift.
See what he did there, everybody?
Over, under, underwhelmed, overjoyed. So Mark, tell the truth now. What did I text you right before the opening kickoff? And for the record, Mark had the Chargers because, well, that's the team he's had an affair with for years now, and he cannot let her go. I mean, he can't, and so he was on the Chargers and I was on the Ravens. But I sent Mark a detailed scouting report, pregame, all the info that I got, and here's my analysis. Mark, how'd it go?
Not wearing baby blues, alternate helmets. Chargers not winning tonight with a cocky emoji.
There you go. That's the, forget inactives, who's playing, forget the matchups. And all I know is the Chargers did not wear their baby blues or their white helmets with the yellow lightning bolt. No way they were winning. No way. It's like when the Gators showed up for the SEC championship game in 2009.
Big F on their head and the white jerseys.
The
Good.
white jerseys and the big F on the helmet. It's like, well, Bama's going to kick their butt today. Are you kidding me? What are you doing? What in the world are you doing? I mean, please. So, and even when they jumped out to a 10-0 lead, I'm like, the Ravens are thrown off by the jerseys. I mean, once they, get their bearings. How about Mr. Harbaugh, though? 4th and a half a yard on his own 16.5 with 2 minutes to go in the first half. And he decides, I don't really want to punt the ball. And I think we'll convert this. So what the hell? I mean, he's trailing 13-7 when he 4th and a half a yard on inside his own 17, 2 minutes to go in the half.
When you have a Lamar Jackson and this Derrick Henry, it seems that when you want to run for a yard, you can get it.
But he didn't even use either one.
I know.
But that was, we talked
a little bit. David. It was onions.
I was just going to say, we talked a little bit yesterday about James Franklin of Penn State having the onions. Hell, it was such a gutsy call. It was more like coconuts and grapefruits. And how about John Harbaugh yesterday? I just thought we were going to, he was asked at halftime by Lisa Salters, why'd you go for it? He said, I just thought we were going to make it. Okay, back to you, Joe.
And they did, converted with the touchdown, took a halftime lead, and never relinquished it.
No, good game for 3.5 quarters. I'll say this, Mark, if you're a wide receiver, you really need to have the ability to catch the ball. I mean, that would seem to really help your cause and your team's cause a lot. Especially when you're like the only guy on the team that's considered like a breakaway speed weapon. Like, hey, we need points here. We got to get the ball to you. I mean, do the Ravens have more weapons than the Chargers? Yes. But they were down 7 mid-4th quarter. Hit a guy who's wide open on a crossing pattern. That's going to be at least a 30-yard gain. One key block, he could take it to the house.
And he had a blocker in front of him. I mean, that's the thing. There was another receiver that was I think it was McConkey that was 8-10 yards in front of him.
Right.
That would have been able to set one more block.
Was going to send him on his way so that he'd have a running 30-yard head start to make the one move he was going to need to make downfield to see whether he scored or not and tied the game.
He dropped the ball.
He did. And he dropped them all night.
Graphic, isn't he?
Yeah, and he dropped them all night too because they kept throwing to him and he kept dropping them. So, yeah, so that's a problem going forward. It is.
Because he's really fast. If he could catch it and run with it, you would think he might be able to make really good things happen.
But see, the position is called wide receiver, not wide open. Right? So, got to work on that. I mean, you would have thought he would have had that down by now. But, anyway, hell of a sports night. Hell of a sports night. My goodness. Where do you want to start? Seriously. My goodness. I mean, how many people have started watching college basketball yet? Probably haven't, have you? No, you're not going to start watching until late January, are you? Early February?
No, for most, it's March.
Oh, okay. But
there was great college hoop yesterday. Memphis upsets Connecticut. The Auburn-Iowa State game
two top 5 teams, and they played a
There was a
2-point game.
huge lead at the half, and Auburn comes way back to win the game. It was a terrific game yesterday. I watched a little Michigan and a little Michigan State yesterday.
You had a little late night Maui action in which North Carolina comes from 18 down at the half to beat Dayton. How about if you're Dayton? You're up at 18. You score almost 40 points in the second half and lose. I mean, that's like you're doing the math. You're like, well, listen, we're up 18. We're going to score 39 points in the second half. You know, in order to lose, they're going to have to score almost 60 points. And North Carolina goes, okay, let us know how much. But so, yeah, great college hoops. Some interesting, association and NHL last night. Listen, your dad worked for GM, right?
That's correct.
For a long
35
time.
years.
Right.
37 years, actually.
Did your dad get into the whole, NASCAR, GM versus Ford, because I guess at the time it was Pontiac. I mean, it's not like there was Toyota or anybody else.
No.
He didn't
We
get
did
into
not
that?
watch any NASCAR in our house ever. My dad, for being someone who worked for a car company, watched the same sports I watch. We did not. He had a little affinity towards Indy racing because his dad loved it, but NASCAR was never on our radar. My uncle was a gigantic NASCAR fan. In fact, the first time I was legitimized in my uncle's eyes is when I told him we had on, and now his name escapes me, our first great NASCAR guest in Act 1, Dave Despain.
Okay.
When I told him I had Dave Despain on, he was like, you interviewed Dave Despain?
Every week.
That's when my uncle said, wow, you've got a real job.
Hey, that's a real show you guys got there. Oh, thanks, Unc.
Used to call Uncle Bill and say, what do you want me to ask Dave Despain this week? And he'd always give me a question or two.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'll bet he loved that.
Loved it.
That was his fantasy football question, wasn't it?
Exactly.
I ask because I guess it's considered really big news in the racing world. So an American manufacturer is going to be added to F1, and it's GM. GM/Cadillac in 2026 is going to produce a car for the F1 series. And, considered a BFD apparently in the racing world. And, I know back in the day in NASCAR, it was, win on Sunday, buy on Monday. That was the thing that the GM and Ford and Pontiac really thought that if their drivers got to victory lane, that they sold cars the next day and that week. And, all I know is this stuff costs a lot of money. A lot of money.
And F1 costs even more money than the rest.
Does it ever.
There is nothing that is more expensive in the race world than the F1 circuit.
Right.
That is the top billing, top cars, top drivers, top engineers, top everything.
And I'm wondering, is this going to cost them in which they bail out of other racing series because they're investing so heavily into F1? So, but anyway, that news came about yesterday. And I thought of your dad. Thought of a, longtime GM guy. Whether or not, he would have liked that. He would have, said, well, whatever.
It would have been a whatever.
Okay.
Right. There might have been a women's softball game on or something that would
that's true.
Attention more. I don't know.
That's true. I mean, the women's college hoops. That's true.
Right.
Well, F1 would have had no chance if they released this news during the spring. I mean, please, nothing got his attention like the NCAA softball tournament. That's true. He'd be watching the volleyball right now. Come to think of it, your dad. He'd be all over it. So anyway, I thought of your dad when I saw the news.
Interesting. It wouldn't have registered. It would have registered on his radar, but would have been that big of a deal because we were not huge race fans in the house.
Didn't know if now all of a sudden you would have sat down with your dad and watched the Netflix F1 series. Said, come on, Dad, We got to get up to date.
Never got into Drive to Survive. I know I probably should to broaden my sports horizons, but the Receivers Netflix show in full swing have been enough for me.
You figured if you're going to go divas, you want to go top of the food chain. You're going to go
Exactly.
receivers.
I wonder, they started with quarterbacks, then they went to receivers. I don't know where they'll go next. The receivers was much better than the quarterbacks. Much better.
Don't you think they could just go to another group of receivers?
Yes.
I mean, because we're not lacking. I mean, we have more good receivers than we do quarterbacks.
And I think the receivers like the way they were portrayed in that, and I think any of them would jump on board round 2, if you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean. Miller and Moulton. We have a nice show lined up for you today. Our normal Tuesday show is David Samson and Pat Kirwan, but we're going to add Chris Perkins to the Diamond District bonus hour as well. Thanks for joining us, Miller and Moulton.
Defining a new era in men's health. Get stronger and healthier at Game Day Men's Health. With our in-house laboratory, get in, get treated, and get back to your passion and purpose. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs or Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for a 10% discount on your service. Start living your best with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples. Call 239-427-3441 today.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
For more than 22 years, Jason and Todd have celebrated Thanksgiving weekend with the Diamond District family. This year, they're kicking off the holidays with luxury, and it starts with free silver and gold bars and coins. With any purchase of $900 or more, Jason and Todd will give you gold and silver bars and coins, depending on how much you spend. Jason and Todd will be in the store all weekend to ensure you receive the best buying experience at the Diamond District.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I don't know if people stayed with the game till the latter half of the fourth quarter. I thought Troy Aikman had one of the funniest lines he's ever uttered, in which the Ravens are trying to run out the clock and they've got third and like 13, and he's talking about what it is they're going to do. And they're like inside their own 20. He goes, "Of course, Joe, this may be 4-down territory for John Harbaugh." Like, look at you. Look at you with the snark. Mac, I thought I read something that this spread was the biggest since '69, which, of course, Bo and them upset them. And then was it the 95 game with Biaka Batuka? 300 yards. And that the last time the spread was this big, Michigan won them both. Well, game didn't happen, though. So. Hey, it's Tuesday. I get to come back to LA on Friday.
Did you just say the week?
If it wasn't Thanksgiving, I would have. I even discussed it with my wife, because Troy's got a place out here. And I even asked him, I said, could I stay at it? That would have been something.
How's the Wi-Fi?
I don't know. You guys have to tell me.
No, at Troy's place. That's all.
Well, exactly. Right. Getting food delivered. What's your address? I don't know.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton. MillerandMoulton.com. Miller_Moulton on X. We will not be live on Thanksgiving and on Black Friday. We will have best of shows for you. Hope you like them. Miller and Moulton, MillerandMoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Miller and Moulton brought to you by Floormeisters. Floormeisters in Naples. Floormeisters just keeping it real. Hey, if a group of people had success, but it's sports and success is often fleeting, and so then they got fired. If you haven't had much, if any, success since firing those people, and say about, 12 years went by, would it be crazy to rehire the last people who actually had success at the jobs that are now once again available?
Wouldn't be the first time that it was done. People have gone back to the well to make hires before.
Well, the Jets, to some degree, are going back to the well. Did you hear the news that came out late yesterday? So, Mike Tannenbaum, who after getting fired from the Jets had a few years where he was kind of the grand poobah of the Dolphins with mixed results. Who hasn't had mixed results running the Dolphins since Shula? And so he and a couple of other former NFL executives have formed this little website, which has become more than that, called the 33rd team. There's 32 teams in the NFL. They're the 33rd team. And, they got a lot of good analysis. They provide good content. I don't know about you, Mark. I've enjoyed the 33rd team over the
I
last
read it
3
from time
years.
to time. Yeah, they do a
Yeah.
good job.
Right. I mean, it's not like they're morons or anything. I mean, they've had their mistakes, but, who hasn't? So, Tannenbaum, of course, was very successful as the GM of the Jets. I mean, he was. I mean, take a look at his tenure. I mean, that's as good a run as the Jets have had since Namath. It's probably their best run, actually. And he hired Rex Ryan. And they went to back-to-back AFC championship games. You know how many other times the Jets have gone to back-to-back AFC championship games in their history? None. So the owner of the Jets, who now is perceived as an idiot.
Yes. Rightly so.
So he called up Tannenbaum.
I mean, at the
And
very
he's-
least, very irrational, David.
Right.
Not an
Yeah,
idiot.
no, he's
I
an
mean-
idiot. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll qualify it. So Woody Johnson called him up and said, listen, could you help me? You know the organization. You know what it takes. And it's just, could you help find me the next Mike Tannenbaum? And while we're at it, that guy is going to have to hire a coach. And, well, you know what it takes to have a successful coach. I mean, think about it. Herm Edwards won. Okay, Eric Mangini won. Rex Ryan won. I mean, the Jets actually had a 10, and before that it was Bill Parcells. I mean, the Jets had, even Al Gross one year, they went 9-7. And the Jets actually had a nearly 15-year run there from 1998 through 2010, 2011, in which the Jets were a good franchise. Went to 3 AFC championship games during that time. Haven't even made the playoffs since.
It's funny you bring up Rex because he openly auditioned for the job on ESPN last week, in which basically he said, I know how to run the franchise. I know how to run the team. I know what they need. And I did it very well. Hire me back.
Well, okay. What's wrong with that? I don't, hardly anybody does it. I mean, Joe Gibbs was hired the second time back in Washington. By the way, he made the playoffs twice and won a playoff game. I mean, it wasn't the first run when he went to 4 Super Bowls and won 3, but it's not like Washington's had a ton of success in the last 25 years. I could argue he's been their most successful coach in the last 25 years, and it was his second go around. I mean, if in a certain line of work, would you hire, you were involved in selling hockey tickets, okay, for organizations and marketing a hockey team, okay? Are there people that you're like, well, come to think of it, you know who I really need to do? I need to find another blank. Well,
Absolutely.
Sure enough, that resume ends up back on your desk.
Never got that fortunate. Most of the people, I was in minor leagues. They left, they moved on to bigger and better things and didn't want to come back. But I get the point that you're making. If they were successful once, can they be successful again?
I mean, I got fired from my first job in the broadcast business. 7 years later, my job was open again. I, as it so happened, had been fired from the job I had. I drove down to the TV station, met with the same guy who fired me, and said, come on now. You haven't had anybody as good as me in the last 7 years. All right. I've matured. All right. I won't make the same mistakes that I made 7 years ago. Okay. I would love to make this right and do this again. And I got to admit, they gave me an interview. They thought about it, and they ultimately decided, they couldn't get over my baggage. I was 20, 21 years old. Okay. I'm almost 30 now. I'm a different guy. But they couldn't get over it. All right. But they thought about it. I mean, if you're the Jets, how crazy would it be if they hired Rex Ryan?
It would be pretty crazy given how long he's been out of the game. There aren't many who miss. What's it been since Rex has been a head coach, David? It's 10 years?
Almost, because, well, he was replaced by Sean McDermott, I think, in 2016 in Buffalo. I think he coached 2014 and 15 in Buffalo. So, he's been gone almost 10 years.
And that's just from the NFL. From the Jets, it's been a little bit longer. So it's not unprecedented. You brought up Gibbs and coming back to Washington. How crazy is it? No more than a 5 on the 1 to 10 crazy scale. And we're talking about the Jets. What they do is crazy all the time anyhow.
Well, and that's another thing. I mean, he knows the crazy owner. You don't have to bring somebody in who has to adjust to the crazy owner. Apparently, Rex and the crazy owner talk all the time. I mean, would it be that nuts? I mean, would you come on this show the next day and go, the Jets have just absolutely positively lost their mind?
No. No, I wouldn't. I don't think it would be the right hire, but I wouldn't call them crazy because of the success that he had there as a head coach.
And they've literally had none since they got rid of both these guys. None.
I'd stay in the cushy media jobs if I was both of them. That's just me. I think it's a little safer because retreads, I'm not a retread guy. Hockey loves the retread. It drives me nuts.
I know it does.
But in the National Football League, you typically need a coach that's had, if you're going to have a successful head coach, typically you have to have a guy that's done it before. There aren't too many first-time guys that have great success being a coach.
I mean, it's a guy who had success where you are. How many guys have had success where you are? Not many. Not many. I don't know. I don't think it's bat blank crazy. I know most everybody does, and the funny headlines and all that. I don't think it's bat blank crazy.
So you'd hire Rex?
I'd interview him. I would. I would give him a fair shot. I would not just rule him out because. Now, if that makes me bat blank crazy, well, I get it. The starting 5, it's next.
We started our show 18 years ago and have been fired 3 times. But Miller and Moulton have never lived on the edge like we are now. We have our best morning ratings ever and are steadily adding affiliates. Yet, we only have a few sponsors, and if that doesn't change, we cannot continue. But if you want to advertise on Miller and Moulton, reach out to one of us directly by texting sponsor to 21,000 or by contacting me on X at @MarkMiller or David at @TheDavidMoulton. You can save Miller and Moulton and make your business some serious money by texting 21,000 now.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower's so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing. They are currently looking for police officers and are offering a $10,000 signing bonus to newly hired officers. If you desire a career in law enforcement, or if you are already in law enforcement and thinking about making a move to a better agency, think Cape Coral Police Department. If you're looking for a police department that is committed to excellence, that invests in the highest level of training, state-of-the-art equipment, and some of the highest compensation in all of Southwest Florida, then the Cape Coral Police Department is for you. Visit capecops.com. That's capecops.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
you know we just rehired a president, right? Mac, I am too. I'm glad that running backs, maybe a few of them will get paid again. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it's good to see you got your provisions today, David.
My what?
You got some food for later in the show?
I had to grab some from the booth last night and bring it.
Well done.
Because there's no food or drink in this room. They're very anti-plastic bottles at this hotel, so they have a water station at the end of the hall. You bring your glass thing and you put it in it, and it fills it up. Of course, it only fills it up about 65%. What the hell? No, Garrett. Not unless all hell breaks loose again. Oh, you'd make a lot more money, EB. A lot more money. I'm guessing Rex makes around $1 million at the 4-Letter Network.
I need side dishes that are not mashed potatoes and gravy and stuffing. That's already one question. Better side dish, mashed potatoes or stuffing. They're going head to head. Those are the two big boys. Okay. I may put a second question up with the alternative sides, if you will. The sweet potato casseroles.
That's a good question, Mac. I don't know who won. Last I saw, I thought Dark Meat was in the lead.
I'm in the midst of a question. I'll check momentarily.
We have a nomination for green bean casserole.
Yeah.
I never had mac and cheese at Thanksgiving. I know it's a thing now.
White meat won, going away.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
22 minutes until David Samson joins the show. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Excuse me, Miller_Moulton on X. What's that?
No, just the Twitch chat room had me laughing. Sorry. Giving them their props. Didn't want to really speak out there as you're starting to go, but they made me laugh.
No. Twitch has been funny, almost snarky this morning. They brought their A game before we were on the air today. Twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton. Feel free to enjoy the show via Twitch. So we vowed to do Thanksgiving poll questions this week. And yesterday, once again, the hard-hitting stuff that people love. Sports, no. Dark meat, white meat. During the show, dark meat had a slight lead.
White meat took it down, 64% of the vote.
Okay.
I was a little surprised at that, but that's especially the way dark meat was pacing early.
Mm-hmm.
But then Dade Broward came in late, David. The late vote always means everything in these polls.
No doubt about it. You know, the big cities, Tampa, Orlando, the I-4 corridor, and Dade and Broward, and White Meat won. So what are we going with today there, sir?
Better side dish, mashed potatoes or stuffing? Just the two big boys. I mean, you can get wild with all your different sides, but come on, there are two main sides of Thanksgiving. There are the mashed potatoes, and there is the stuffing. Most people like one better than the other. I'm a stuffing guy. I love mashed potatoes, but I love stuffing even more.
How much is your answer based on who you grew up eating Thanksgiving dinner from? Because let's face it, the cook was probably better at preparing one over the other.
Well, stuffing, there's a lot of variants, David. Some people do the cornbread stuffing. There's a lot going on with stuffing, and I've seen it be ruined. But if done right, stuffing every time.
Okay. So that's the question. Mashed potatoes or stuffing? That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, Miller_Moulton on X. If it's hard hitting, well, it's the poll question on Miller and Moulton.
The starting five. 5 big stories you need to know. Here is the starting five.
A lot of ground to cover. I'll try to get to it all. NFL, Ravens beat the Chargers 30-23. Baltimore improves to 8-4. They're a half a game behind the Steelers in the North. Chargers fall to 7-4. They're now just a half a game ahead of the Broncos. For second in the AFC West, John Harbaugh now 3-0 against Jim Harbaugh. For the record, last week in the NFL, road teams went 9-4 straight up. Home teams have only won 6 more games than road teams so far this year. We said heading into this week that road favorites were the best play against the spread. They went 5-4. So that's 55-56%. Their season percentage is 57%. So there you go. J.K. Dobbins, by the way, left the game late second quarter with a knee injury and did not return. That obviously bears watching. Chargers do not have a ton of depth at running back, wide receiver, tight end, and their schedule gets more challenging here. Pay attention. Daniel Jones cleared waivers. The former Giants quarterback is now a free agent. And the Jets say 2 things. 1, Aaron Rodgers is definitely going to start. And 2, former GM Mike Tannenbaum is being brought in to assist the general manager and head coaching search. I wonder if he'll recommend himself.
Interview a bunch, give a big list and put his name at the top of it and say,
Right.
if you really want a GM, I can do this again.
Well, isn't that how Dick Cheney became vice president? Didn't George W. Bush actually hire Dick Cheney to, go through who he should pick for vice president? And then W ended up picking him. College football. Georgia says, we're not going to have Travis Etienne against Georgia Tech. Alabama says our star linebacker, Deontay Lawson, he's out for the year with a lower leg injury. Penn State loses their freshman terrific offensive tackle, Anthony Donko, with a knee injury, certainly out for the rest of the regular season, unlikely to be back for the playoffs, but it bears watching. Mac Brown says he intends to be back at North Carolina. He's 73. They're 6-5 heading into a showdown with NC State, and he's lost 3 straight to the Wolfpack. Kyle Whittingham, 65 years old. Utah's lost 7 in a row. He's already got the coach in waiting, but he said he will decide his future after the season, and the season ends this weekend at UCF.
And I know they lost their quarterback, but Utah, one of the bigger disappointments this year to me.
They and Kansas were the 2 preseason favorites in the Big 12. One's 4-7, the other's 5-6. Although Kansas got their act together the last 3 weeks, they just beat 3 ranked teams in a row. Kansas is single-handedly determining who the Big 12 champion is going to be. And East Carolina is going to promote the interim head coach, Mark. Blake Harrell took over when they were 3-4. They've gone 4-0. He lobbied for the job. The players lobbied for him. The administration said, well, okay. We'll give him the job.
Hey, he's done a great job since becoming the interim. Deserved the head coaching job. I know my son's an ECU alum. he wanted to see him get through the Navy game before they hired him full time. Just
Right.
see how he did against a really good team.
Right. Or a good team anyway, yeah. But okay. But looks like he's getting the gig. So baseball news. Did anybody catch what Major League Baseball did with the Rays schedule for next year? So they took a look at the research, which those of us in Florida know, which is this just in. There's this thing called a rainy season. And April and May are not really part of it. June, July, and August are very much part of it. And since the Rays are going to have to play in an outdoor stadium, Major League Baseball said, well, how about we move a bunch of games from June, July, and August and move them to April and May? So get this schedule for the Rays. They are going to play 47 of their first 59 games of the season at home. They'll play 12 road games before June. Do the math. That means they play 69 of their last 103 on the road. They have an early 13-game homestand. Do the Rays. I mean, 11,000 seats if you make your plans now. County commissioners, by the way, in Pinellas County have sent a letter to the Rays saying, yeah, we need to know by December 1st. Are you honoring the deal or are you terminating it? But you have to let us know one way or the other. The Rays released a statement yesterday about, hey, we're all in favor of supporting baseball for 2029. And Pinellas County's like, yeah, you put it on paper. You in or you out? So there you have it. College basketball news. Man, some great games going on Thanksgiving week. They do every year, all these tournaments. Memphis knocked off number 2 UConn, 99-97. It was a tie game, late in regulation. Hurley gets hit with a technical. Apparently, for all those courtside, he really earned it. And that the officials showed great restraint until waiting till the final minute before they teed him up. UConn ended up losing in overtime, 99-97. 2 top 5 teams played yesterday in Maui. Auburn rallied from 18 down to beat 5th-ranked Iowa State 83-81. Speaking of 18 down, North Carolina at the half in Maui was down 18 to Dayton. Outscored the Flyers 59-39 in the second half to win 92-90. In and around the state, Mercer came from 10 down to beat Jacksonville in overtime, 90-89. In the Fort Myers tip-off mark, Michigan beat Va-Tech by 12 and Xavier beat South Carolina by 9. So it'll be Michigan-Xavier for the Fort Myers tip-off title. College hoop polls came out yesterday. Top 5 remain the same. Kansas, UConn, Gonzaga, Auburn, Iowa State. Gators came in at 18th. 9 SEC teams ranked, 6 Big 12. In basketball, only 2 ACC, Carolina and Duke. That's it. Wow. NBA, LaMelo Ball at 44 of Charlotte's 84. But Orlando beat them 95-84. Knicks got 40 from OG Anunoby. They beat Denver by 27 in Denver. Damn, 145-118. Detroit got a shot at the buzzer, beat Toronto 102-100. The Pistons already have 8 wins.
That was like January of last year when they had 8 wins, right? Did they get 8 wins all year? Maybe February?
I think it was February by the time they got to 8 wins. Brooklyn went to Golden State and beat the Warriors 128-120. And Boston, Porzingis made his season debut for the Celtics, and they demolished the Clippers 126-94. Kristoff had 16 in the win. Brandon Hagel with 5 assists, 4 in the first period. That tied an NHL record. Lightning all over the Avs, 8-2. Tell you what, some of the young teams in the East have taken it to Florida here in the last month. The Devils did it twice. The Caps went to Sunrise and beat the Panthers 4-1 last night without Ovechkin. St. Louis hired a new coach. Mark, when a team in the NHL hires a coach, what do they do the very next game?
They win, David. They win.
Jim Montgomery won his debut with the Blues, beating the Rangers 5-2. And the Winnipeg Jets are 18-4. I know nobody cares, but it just needs to be pointed out. 4-1 over Minnesota. Racing news, General Motors is going to join the F1 series, first American car manufacturer in the F1 series. They'll do so in 2026. That's right, GM, Cadillac. That'll be something. If they're driving a Caddy in the F1 series. Hey, come on. That's the best engine. I don't care. I don't know much about cars. Okay, I'm not taking one side or the other. I don't really care. But come on. Have we made a better engine in this country than a Cadillac engine?
It's a dadgum good point, David.
I mean, don't you think if we're racing F1, it's got to be a Cadillac?
Yes.
Just saying. Golf. Tiger Woods says, yeah, I can't compete next week in the Hero World Challenge in the Bahamas. I'm hosting the event, but I can't play. That officially puts an end to Tiger's 2024. Remember, he turns 49 in a month. He played 5 events this year. He missed 3 cuts. He withdrew without finishing, and he finished 60th at the Masters. He had his 6th back surgery 3 months ago. I mean, is he still a golfer? I mean, really? I mean, if he even has a moment on the PGA Tour between now and the end of his career, we should enjoy it. Because the past couple years have been rough.
And it doesn't matter where it's at. Doesn't matter if it's at Arnie's tournament. It doesn't matter if it's at the Players. It doesn't have to be a major. If Tiger can string along a few rounds, stop what you're doing and watch.
Totally. By the way, the LPGA Tour is being racked with a bunch of retirements. I mean, Lexi Thompson, Marina Alex, Angela Stafford, Laura Davies, Brittany Lincecum, Allie Ewing have all announced they're done.
Interesting. They all announced it the year that the money's gone up higher than it's ever been on that tour.
I know. But a lot of them are doing it just for life and family reasons. You know, that's, got to admit, it's a big difference between LPGA and PGA. There's a big biological difference. Just saying. And at 8 minutes before the hour mark, that was the starting 5 big stories you need to know here on Miller and Moulton.
Hurley went you made the point that everybody courtside said he earned the technical. Did you see his post-game comments? He obliterated the officials after the game.
He did, to the point in which people in the sport think this is going to come back and haunt him. That's not going to work out well for him in UConn going forward. That they think that yesterday is when the officials are going to draw the line on Hurley and basically say, hey, tough guy, enough.
I love it. He says the one guy I didn't even know was a college ref. The other 2 I'm familiar with, so I'm not surprised by the calls they made.
Right. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And you think you're going to get through the next few weeks without a lot of teas, huh?
Right.
Enjoy the beach in Maui.
I can't say anymore what it is that Hurley is reportedly to have said to the one official who teed him up with 40 seconds to go in regulation. I will share it in the Twitch chat room during the break, however. David Samson to join us next on Miller and Moulton. We started our show 18 years ago and have been fired 3 times, but Miller and Moulton have never lived on the edge like we are now. We have our best morning ratings ever, are steadily adding affiliates, yet we only have a few sponsors. And if that doesn't change, we can't continue. But if you want to advertise on Miller and Moulton, reach out to one of us directly by texting sponsor to 21,000 or contact Mark on X at that Mark Miller or me at the David Moulton. You can save Miller and Moulton and make your business some serious money by texting 21,000 now.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no.
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor, a neighborly company.
Do you have a sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
The world-famous cigar bar started as a neighborhood place in downtown Fort Myers, and now it's a brand, a destination with 4 locations. The original place, Henry Street, Fort Myers, Gulf Coast Town Center, on Southeast 47th Terrace off the Cape Coral Parkway, and the Lounge on West 1st Street in Fort Myers. A place to go, whether you just need a relaxing drink and a smoke after a tough day at work, or a place to go celebrate. From relaxation to celebration, the world-famous cigar bar.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Morning, David.
Good morning.
A happy Thanksgiving greeting to you in advance.
Oh, thank you.
You ignoring family, or are you partaking?
I haven't found a way to ignore yet. If you have one, pass that along, would you?
A cold. Okay, you've been sick. You don't want to get everybody sick.
Yeah, we're no. It's going to be a cluster duck of family insanity, as all Thanksgivings are with all people, where groups of people get together by obligation, not by preference, which causes the usual beauty of misunderstandings, miscommunications, and one-upsmanship.
Wow, that's quite a mini series you've detailed there. Who's hosting?
My sister.
Okay.
Reluctantly and by lottery. I have a heart in and a heart out. I'm going to be there, I think, from 4 to 5:30.
Wow, you're really
that's what I'm going to do.
You're really extending yourself this year.
90 minutes is pretty much my maximum.
So I'm guessing food's being served at like 4:01.
It doesn't even matter to me.
Wow.
I actually made it clear food to me is not interesting. Thanksgiving food especially, I don't even like it. Can't even taste it, so who gives a shit? But no, that is not. I basically say do whatever you want, have whatever food.
So You still can't taste food from COVID?
A bit, not much.
Okay.
Not much. I had
We've
an amazing dessert. I had an amazing piece of pumpernickel bread 2 days ago that was given to me by my girlfriend. And I was like, thank you. This goes very well with the chicken. And I ate it. And then she said, by the way, that was your dessert. That was a chocolate bundt cake.
Okay.
And I thought it was pumpernickel bread.
Okay. So white meat or dark meat was our poll question yesterday.
Whatever gets cooked faster would be my answer.
You are anti-Thanksgiving. Wow.
I am very anti-Thanksgiving. We would purposely try to make trades. I would, and I succeeded on Thanksgiving so I could be away from the table and not have to go. I did that many years. I worked Thanksgiving, I would say, an overwhelming majority of the years. My agent once had me saying, why not you go work for the Cowboys or Lions? Because then you will never have to be around Thanksgiving ever again. I almost chose that as a career path.
Wow. And you are talking to Mark Miller, who loves Thanksgiving more than any person I know.
Well,
Love Thanksgiving.
There has to be a frame of reference, doesn't there?
Well, I like the fact that it's a holiday. Ours is limited family. I know where you're coming from when there's the arguments. I like the food. I like the company. I like the football. I like the fact that it's a holiday. You don't have to buy gifts for anybody. It's just a holiday to get together and eat and drink. I think that's a good thing.
Huh? Did he sell it? No?
Nope.
Not at all.
No sale.
Okay. No.
Let's make a deal.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And joining us on the American Paint Supplies Hotline, your one-stop shop for all your coating needs, is one David Samson. He of Nothing Personal with David Samson, the award-winning podcast, which he records live 8 a.m. weekdays, and then it re-airs 10 a.m. weekdays on the DraftKings Network. By the way, you doing a show Thanksgiving and Black Friday?
Yes, I am doing a show. The Thursday and Friday shows will be mailbag episodes. So there will be opportunities for people to get their questions answered. But if it's 8 a.m. Eastern, you are going to have a chance to watch and listen to a Nothing Personal through hell or high water.
Okay. You're kind of like the post office. That is good to know. Hey, you had made the comment on an earlier Miller and Moulton that you used to like to do deals on Thanksgiving. I'm curious, when you were calling the other general managers, did they ever answer the phone and go, David, it's Thanksgiving, leave me alone?
So I would deal with team presidents and other owners, and it's funny. Everyone was happy to take calls. We were all happy to take calls always, because we were always interested in a move, whether it was a move to shave money off our payroll, or to add money to our payroll, or to get a particular player. When we were offering Josh Beckett to the Red Sox, believe me, I had no problem getting Larry Lucchino on the phone for 3 hours to do a deal. And I always liked the Thanksgiving deals because it would enable me to skirt any familial responsibilities on that day. And I've got so many Thanksgiving Day trade stories that are just funny. But if you Google it, the Red Sox deal specifically in it must have been 06, 07, 05. One of those years, it was with the Red Sox with Beckett and Lowell. It must have been 05, in November of 05. I'll never forget it because it went on long enough that my then wife, who always understood the rules of engagement, which were I'm available to work any day. There's no holidays in baseball. Even she, who was very gracious and giving to my schedule, was wondering how it is that I could have disappeared for that long when normally it's just, half-hour bathroom breaks every 20 minutes. This was a long stretch.
What was the best trade you ever pulled off on Thanksgiving?
Oh, it was that one for sure, because we were able to shed Lowell's money, and he ended up being baseball's so hard. And there's so many teams that trade players too early or too late or get it wrong. We got it wrong. We thought Lowell was finished. I told him personally, I said, "Hey, you got our extension, but you're done." He's like, "Yeah, I'm not feeling great." Sent him to Boston, and he had a rebirth, but he was an absolute throw-in in order to get Hanley Ramirez and Anibal Sanchez from the Red Sox, and they really just wanted Beckett. They didn't want Lowell. And in order to take Beckett, that was really what the majority of the conversation was on Thanksgiving, was our unwillingness to trade Josh Beckett without Mike Lowell. And for your young audience, you may not know these players, but it happens in baseball all the time, which is when you've got an asset, it happens in business. When you have an asset that somebody wants, sometimes you got to take the crap with it and just deal with it, bite hard to get really what you want. And we knew John Henry wanted Josh Beckett for years.
So this Rays situation, a lot has transpired and been threatened in the last week since we spoke. Now, yesterday, Major League Baseball redoes the schedule. I mean, this is remarkable. They'll play 47 of their first 59 at home. Then they'll play 69 of their last 103 on the road. But your thoughts on the Rays situation, start wherever you'd like.
Well, let me start on the schedule, because that's an unprecedented thing they're doing for the Rays right now. We played from 2002 to 2011 at Pro Player Stadium. We were competitively disadvantaged all the time by not having a roof and by having rain delays and not as many rainouts as people think, but just a disruption of the schedule. It is not a disadvantage for the Rays to be on the road at the end of the season. When your team doesn't draw, your players actually prefer to be on the road than at home. They feel more excitement. They feel like there's better crowds. So I don't view that as huge a liability for the Tampa Bay Rays franchise under any stretch to have more road games in the second half than home games. But really, the noteworthy thing that's happening is that we don't know if there's a deal anywhere after 2025. And we haven't heard any rumblings that Steinbrenner of the Yankees will allow the Rays to play in 26 at Steinbrenner Field. We don't know if the Union will be interested in the Rays being in a spring training facility again in 26. But it seems to me increasingly likely that no one will play in the Trop again, because I don't know why you would throw good money after bad, even if it's insurance money, to fix up that place. So it's going to be really interesting what happens. But on nothing personal, gentlemen, I did a wait to see. I do not think the Rays will play at the Trop anymore, and that they will play at a temporary facility until such time as they have a new ballpark. Where will that ballpark be? Sadly, it's anybody's guess right now.
What do you make of the letter that the Pinellas County Commissioner sent to the Rays saying they've got to make a decision by Sunday? Is there any substance to that? I mean, is that letter binding? Is there anything to that letter, or is that just a threat?
Yeah, that's the same as the letter that the Rays sent. I don't know if you guys talked about this or if we did. The Rays sent this letter, and I've written a bunch of those letters and had a bunch of those letters written back to me. It's all part of the negotiating process. They still have a lot to negotiate because of what happened with the hurricane and the damage to the Trop. There is even when they announced the deal was done, I had told you guys, it's not done till you see shovels in the ground, literally, not a presentation, an actual shovel that's putting rebar in the ground. And I think that about Vegas as well. That will be what I'm looking for to tell you it's a done deal. And as part of the negotiation, often you do letter writing campaigns because you want to put a stake in the ground, so to speak, about where you are positionally on certain issues. And so you send letters like that. But the Rays, they wrote the letter and then apologized like 2 days later, saying we didn't mean for it to be so harsh. And I thought that was a huge mistake. My view, and I got a deal done this way, double down. Say, man, that was the nicest letter that we could have sent. We had drafts out that were contemplating legal action. We had drafts out that were impugning your jobs as commissioners, your ability to run your town. But they apologized. I thought that was a bad move.
What, if anything, do you think Major League Baseball is going to do here? Because I don't remember Rob Manfred or Bud Selig, for that matter, coming out and saying something to the effect of, we really don't want to lose the Oakland market. But Manfred basically came out and said that a week to a week and a half ago. So they didn't step in on John Fisher and what was going on in Oakland. If this looks like it's going south, and we'll know in the next 3 weeks, I mean, if the Pinellas County commissioners don't approve the bonds, this has officially gone south. Do you think Manfred and Major League Baseball will step in with Stu in some way?
So I want to clarify that because baseball did step in Oakland. Baseball stepped in Miami. Baseball has stepped in already in Tampa. They do get involved. There's a good cop, bad cop thing that happens. And what Manfred did was be the good cop this time, with Stu as the bad cop saying the deal looks dead. You're not our partner. We may have to relocate. But baseball is involved all the way. And Rob didn't want to lose Oakland. It's way worse for baseball that the A's are out of Oakland right now. They would prefer to have stayed in that market. And they do want to stay in Tampa only because it makes it easier for expansion. But they also recognize that Tampa and Miami just haven't worked. Miami got the ballpark, so they're stuck there for sure. Tampa has not. So there's a little more optionality. But believe me, they're involved every step of the way. So don't believe it when Rob stands up and says, oh, they'll stay in touch with me. That's not really how it works in the real world. You're in touch with Major League Baseball daily.
David, if expansion wasn't on the horizon, the Rays would be gone, wouldn't they?
No question about it. They would have been gone a long time ago. And that is, Stu's wanted to relocate for a long time. He made that very clear, and maybe correctly so. But with expansion on the table and with owners needing those expansion fees, and with them already waiving the relocation fee to Vegas, which was absurd, but I understand why they did it, because they wanted to take care of the revenue sharing issue, which I don't think they'll take care of, actually. Mark my words, gentlemen, Vegas will get revenue sharing dollars in Vegas as much as Oakland was, but I digress. They need the expansion fees in order to pay down debt.
There seems to be 3 cities that have their act together for expansion: Salt Lake City, Portland, and Nashville. But you mentioned needing the Rays for expansion. Baseball's going to do what the NFL did, right? They're going to go to 8 4-team divisions, and the perfect Southern division is Atlanta, Nashville, Tampa Bay, and Miami, right? So that's the problem for Major League Baseball, right? They're like, this is a perfect geographic fit. You guys can't screw this up.
Yeah, there's no question you're going to get to 32 teams, and it will be 8 teams of 4. You're going to have total realignment. You very likely could. One of the crazy things is you may see the end of the American League and the National League. It's been talked about in committee meetings that I've been a part of, where there's a talk of just having 32 teams and the top 16 are in the playoffs, and 1 to 16, and maybe you could do a bye, maybe not a bye. And have 1 through 16, like a NCAA tournament with the Sweet 16. So there's so many things that baseball wants to do, but they can't do it until they've got resolution on Tampa and Oakland. The problem is they can get resolution on Tampa and Oakland, but now Arizona has a ballpark issue. The White Sox have a ballpark issue. The D-backs have a ballpark issue. So there's always going to be a cycle of teams that are having issues, whether it's renovation or getting a new ballpark. So at some point, and we used to talk about this, you got to choose a time to do something, because there's going to be no perfect time. I use the equivalency with these guys. It's like having a child. You can say you're ready, or you can say, I'm going to wait till I'm ready. The problem is you're never ready. You never will feel ready. Sometimes you just have to do it. And that's what I think is going to happen with expansion.
Well, I really want to wish you all the best for Thanksgiving. I know how much you enjoy it.
I love Thanksgiving.
The family time, all of the kumbaya around the conversations around the table. So I hope everything for your Thanksgiving goes as well as it can this year.
Oh, I appreciate it. All I do is love the Coopers, and I appreciate how lucky I am. I do love my family. I'm not sure they love me back, but I just don't enjoy Thanksgiving food, and I can't wait to watch 3 NFL games.
Oh, I don't know. That 4:00 game is Giants Cowboys. You may want to do your Thanksgiving between 4 and 7.
No, you prepare between 1 and 4, so you're feeling really good between 4 and 7. No driving between 4 and 7.
So that's what prepared is now. That's funny, because I thought it was impaired. But David Samson, he have nothing personal with David Samson. Weekdays, 8 a.m. live, and then you check out the replay at 10 a.m. on the DraftKings Network. David, a happy Thanksgiving. Thanks so much. Follow him on X at David, the letter P. Samson, David P. Samson.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
When you enter the Diamond District, you will quickly discover what makes Jason and Todd so unique to Southwest Florida. Within the walls of the Diamond District, you'll find many of America's top jewelry designers who have chosen the Diamond District as their authorized representative in Southwest Florida. Takori, Fana, A. Jaffe, Veragio, Christopher Designs, Shy Creations, Henri Dossi, all names synonymous with excellence, and all proudly showcased at the Diamond District.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor, a neighborly company.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Oh, God. The recording stuff's not working. I'm supposed to record the show to use for Thursday, and the show doesn't record. The logger's not working today. And he never bothered to tell me until I text him during the middle of the Samson interview or at the beginning of it. Yeah, you got to record. Would have been nice to know that yesterday. So I don't know how I feed this station, this show on Thursday. So pissed right now. I think that's what I've got to do, Realtor Clark. It only adds about 4 hours more work for me. No, YouTube doesn't record it, but I can play it, then record it. So I have to sit here for an hour, record the whole 6, and record part of the 7.
Sorry about that.
Just simple communication. He knows we need this. All he's got to do is send a text yesterday. Hey, logger's out. You got to record the show. God dang it.
That's not affecting Denver, though, right?
No.
Yeah,
it's already a boatload more work for the local state. This is because they don't pick. If they picked it up on satellite, I wouldn't care, like everybody else. But they don't. I've got to give them the show, each segment of each hour. I've got to give them 12 segments.
Can we change the terms and just say, hey, man, it's your guy's obligation? Or no?
Not really.
Okay.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Pat Kirwan to join us coming up at the top of the hour. Chris Perkins to join us at the top of the Diamond District bonus hour. Here on Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. David Samson just joined us on the American Paint Supplies hotline, your one-stop shop for all your coating needs.
What do you think would happen to one of the two of us if we lost taste of food? I mean, David Samson lost taste, basically, with COVID and never got it back.
No.
And you and I love to eat. Love to eat.
And we're good at it.
Yes.
Yes. That would really suck. I mean, my guess is we would still eat a lot because, well, we'd be hungry. You and I get nervous, excited while watching sports, and oftentimes, then reach for a carb to throw in our mouth and crunch on and what have you. So, I mean, I don't know how much differently. I don't know how much less, I should say, I would eat. I'm just curious as to what it is I would then be eating if I can't taste most of it. Do you find like the one thing that you think you can taste? But like he told the story, and I don't think he was on air, was he?
Yeah.
Okay, in which, he thought that it was a piece of pumpernickel bread and it turned out to be like a pastry.
Yeah. I mean, I either would eat really healthy or just not eat at all.
Well, B's not an option for me.
I don't know if you're not tasting it. I mean, the wife bought some wheat thins the other day and they were gone right away. She said, what happened? I said, fourth quarter.
Yeah.
You go to bed, fourth quarter's coming on, the game's somewhat close. I'm reaching to the pantry. I'm grabbing something.
See, and I actually think that's a prime example of what eating would be like if we had suffered the fate of David Samson, because wheat thins have virtually no taste.
What?
Wheat thins. They're terrible. They're
are
cardboard.
They're cardboard. Triscuits are cardboard. Wheat thins are divine.
Wheat thins are
we may not be able to finish the show right now over this. Are you kidding me right now? Wheat thins are delicious.
They're skinny cardboard with a little salt on them. Okay, honestly. I mean,
oh my God.
The first like 5-6 wheat thins you think have a taste to them. And after that, you're just shoveling stuff in your mouth to shovel stuff in your mouth.
I need a little help. 21,000 is the text line. Twitch.tv/Miller and Moulton. YouTube.com. Search Miller and Moulton. What the hell is going on?
Already very divided in the Twitch chat room. I will say, I didn't realize this could be the most controversial thing we bring up all day. I thought our poll question, mashed potatoes or stuffing, was a pretty big dividing line. But man, This could be worse. You always like to, I will say, we don't do poll questions very often. You have gotten in the mood where if you're going to do one, you want to do 4.
Right. I almost
So-
put a second one up today, but I didn't. I
If you want to go wheat thins, go wheat thins. I mean, if you want to, remember, it's not sports. People will love the question. Sports, whatever. I guess we tolerate this show for some sports. So, and I think I'm going to lose. It looks like at early results in the Twitch chat room, I'm going to lose. But I think that, it's thin cardboard with, a little bit of salt added to it. They're after the first 4 or 5, they don't have any taste. People have an opinion,
what
though.
happened to you?
What do you mean? What happened to me? I've thought about this. I've done that. What you just did very often. All right, I've demolished an entire box of wheat thins in just a quarter of football, or a couple of holes of a major championship. I've been down this road before, and I've thought about it. And when the box was gone, I'm like, wow. Did that have any taste whatsoever, or was that just something to throw in my mouth?
Got a text. Triscuits are the Zima of crackers. I agree with that. But wheat thins are delicious.
Delicious?
Yes.
Delicious.
Delicious. A top 5 cracker.
Wow. Delicious. Now, I think that's going entirely too far. That's like calling the Chargers a Super Bowl contender. Okay, that's just way too far. I mean, you want to make the argument the Chargers are a pretty good to good team. Okay, I can go with you on that. But delicious.
I mean, Triscuits are
terrible.
the New York Jets.
No,
but wheat thins are
what? Seriously. The Browns?
I'm trying to find the right team. What's that?
The Browns?
No.
Okay.
What's the matter with you? The wheat thins are definitely a playoff team.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm just trying to figure out if they're a division champ or not.
Please. You need to lay down. You're under too much stress, apparently, heading into the holidays. But Arch says wheat thins are Vandy.
This year, maybe. Not in past years. Wheat thins are Tennessee.
Well, Tennessee without Josh Heupel. Hello. All right. Apparently, man, we've woken a giant this morning. I mean, football or, the Rays or, GM in Formula One or, the college hoops, whatever. Wheat thins? Oh, my goodness. What are these guys talking about? Delicious,
So we've got 2 poll questions up.
Oh, my
Wheat
goodness.
thins, delicious, terrible. Those are your only 2 choices. And then mashed potatoes or stuffing, and stuffing getting about 60% of the vote.
Stuffing? Really?
Yes.
Oh. Well, it's my Irish bias plus my late grandmother. Man, made the best mashed potatoes. Oh, my goodness. They were amazing. And she did the gravy just like you. So it was, divine. It was. Okay, it is better what you cooks do. It is better. I will acknowledge that. I just don't have the talent for it and don't have the patience to do it and wait for it. That's all. But it's better. It's much better. It's outstanding. All right. But I'm a mashed potatoes guy.
And not a wheat thin person, apparently.
Come on. I mean, seriously. I mean, what a disagreement in the draft room this is. Man, you actually think wheat thins is like a really good prospect. You want to take wheat thins late in the first round. And I'm looking at you going, if we take wheat thins before Saturday, I'm going to fire you. I mean, that's our disagreement on wheat thins here.
Yeah, I'm working for a new team. I'm David Samson on Thanksgiving. I'm out in the hallway trying to find myself a job.
I mean, maybe if you wear me down, I'll let you take wheat thins as a supplemental pick at the end of the 3rd round. Maybe. But my goodness, like Baxberg, Wheat Thins, or Daniel Jones. Exactly.
I don't know what the hell's happened today. Chargers ruined my chance at a 5-0 week, and now nobody likes Wheat Thins.
Well, that's not true. I think you're winning. And then of course people are chiming in with their favorite cracker, and all hell's breaking loose now. I mean, you get the non-sports conversation going, Mark. I mean, family members are calling one another now. You listen to these yahoos? They don't like Wheat Thins?
I just got to get my vote in. So at least there's at one point that Delicious may be leading this thing.
And no, E.B. Hill, we're not adding cheese. No, this is just we are voting on the cracker. Okay? And I think Wheat Thins are an excuse. And Mark thinks they're delicious.
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 Yeah. It's a fine cracker.
A fine cracker. So anyway, that's our second poll question at that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, Miller_Moulton on X. You can chime in 21,000 on the text line. Just make sure you use the keyword Miller. Although it would be hysterical if all of you who didn't do it sent all these answers to Michigan. That would be great. Actually, what are they talking about there? Are they talking about Wheat Thins? We started our show 18 years ago and have been fired 3 times, but Miller and Moulton have never lived on the edge like we are now. We have our best morning ratings ever, are steadily adding affiliates, yet we only have a few sponsors. And if that doesn't change, we can't continue. But if you want to advertise on Miller and Moulton, reach out to one of us directly by texting sponsor to 21,000 or contact Mark on X at that Mark Miller or me at the David Moulton. You can save Miller and Moulton and make your business some serious money by texting 21,000 now.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing. They are currently looking for police officers and are offering a $10,000 signing bonus to newly hired officers. If you desire a career in law enforcement, or if you are already in law enforcement and thinking about making a move to a better agency, think Cape Coral Police Department. If you're looking for a police department that is committed to excellence, that invests in the highest level of training, state-of-the-art equipment, and some of the highest compensation in all of Southwest Florida, then the Cape Coral Police Department is for you. Visit capecops.com. That's capecops.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I'm medicated enough so I don't need professional help, JB Vike, but thank you.
But mine says he wants to know my hotels the rest of the football season so that he can get the hotels to leave me a complimentary box of Wheat Thins.
Outstanding. Text line's full. Twitch chat's going nuts.
Totally. Yep. Once again. Yep. Yep. I like how you phrased it, by the way. Wheat Thins, ... Another buddy of mine wants to make Wheat Thins the official sponsor of our picks.
Standing.
Well, Pius, that could be our poll question tomorrow. Beer, wine, hard stuff, all the above. Oh, Dan Hurley, according to people courtside, said to the official, "You're an effing retard."
That'll get you a tea these days.
And that apparently it was, apparently they had apparently during one of the timeouts, the officials had actually said, "Listen, we cannot tee him up late in this, game. We're just got to let it go." But what is a good cracker for me? Excuse me.
I'll just have a saltine.
Oh, geez. Here we go. I mean, I do think Ritz crackers are the best cracker ever made, but that's funny, Pius. That's quality. Now, see, that's the kind of material.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Not one, but two poll questions, and neither has to do with sports, so you guys are loving it. Our Thanksgiving poll questions continue since it's Thanksgiving week. Best of Miller and Moulton Thursday and Friday as we gear up for the end of the season run, in which we'll do a show practically every day. So yesterday was white meat, dark meat. White meat won with what, 60-40?
Yeah, a little more than that.
And today it's side dishes, stuffing or mashed potatoes, stuffing 60-40, the early lead. And then we got into a deep philosophical discussion. Not about the National Football League, not about the college football playoff, but Wheat Thins. Do you like them or are they terrible?
And David, early voting going on terrible.
Really? Wow.
About 55% early, but I am taking some abuse on the text line.
And for the record, Mark Miller loves Wheat Thins and was talking about demolishing an entire box during the fourth quarter of a game recently.
Triscuits and Wheat Thins are garbage, a texter says. Wheat Thins are the Vikings. Someone asked, are you sure you didn't lose your taste in COVID, saying Wheat Thins are a top 5 cracker? Seriously, Wheat Thins, how are they considered even good? Not even a cracker. They are just a crispy piece of something burnt.
Wow, that's pretty harsh. By the way, the Vikings are 9-2, I do think. But they've never won the Super Bowl. I got it. Right.
And then finally, someone on my side who says, getting delicious Wheat Thins to go with my crab dip appetizer for Turkey Day. Thanks for the tip.
Now, see, you put crab dip on any cracker. I mean, you can put crab dip on a Triscuit, and it's tolerable.
No, actually, it's not. It's still cardboard.
It is, and it's the worst.
Triscuit is the worst cracker that there has ever been made.
I agree. It's the thickest, though. I mean, if you need to change your oil with a cracker, I mean, that's the one you go with. Yep. But here's another thing. Like, does Cheez-Its qualify as a cracker? See, to me, a cracker...
snack.
Right. I agree. That's why I got to be honest with you. To me, Wheat Thin's not even a cracker. Because do you actually put something on a Wheat Thin?
Yeah, occasionally cheese, some dip.
Really?
Yeah.
See,
in fact, I put some pepper jack cheese on some Wheat Thins just the other day. You know what, David? It was delicious.
If you say so. If you say so. Seems like a thin Triscuit to me. But, okay. All right. Hey, let's just go through an exercise here. Nobody's going to care about this because this isn't Wheat Thins or stuffing or mashed potatoes. That's what they really care about. Pat Kirwan to talk the NFL. We do think you care about that. That's in about 20 minutes. So, so you're the committee tonight. Give me your top 15 and start at number 1. Make it easier. All right. Your top 15, by the way, not what you think their top 15 is going to be. Just and if 15's too many, stop at 12, whatever you want to do. But
all right.
Oregon's 1, right?
Yeah, Oregon's 1. The Buckeyes are 2.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you're pausing because that's right where I was going to go.
I don't know who's, I'd have no problem if someone wanted to put any of if we're just doing this by record, we're looking at all the 10-1 teams out there. Which 10-1 team, not named Ohio State, has the best resume? Not the eyeball test.
Right.
Which has the best resume? Because that matters to me. And I think it does to you as well, David.
Oh, it always matters to me. I mean, how I'm a big proponent of the games have to matter. The results matter. I don't want to talk about recruiting. I don't want to talk about potential. I think so-and-so's better. I'm not interested in any of that. And the point that I was going to get to is, why is Texas 3?
Because of the eyeball test.
I mean, their resume, they have not beaten, I don't believe they have, is Vandy their only win over a bowl-eligible team?
Yes, I believe that is correct.
I mean, now they caught a bad break. Oh, now I guess Michigan, because
Michigan won their 6-game beat Northwestern.
But I mean, think about that. If Vandy and Michigan both won 6 games, I think that's their 2 best wins. Now, they caught a bad break this year. They did. They're in the SEC. And to end up with a weak SEC schedule, that's a bad break. You could argue it's a good break, but that's a bad break. They did beat Florida, by the way, who picked up their 6th win. So it is actually, Texas had a really good weekend. They had a bunch of teams with 5 wins pick up their 6th win. And now they could say they've beaten a bowl-eligible team. All right, good for Texas. But you do the strength of schedule, and Joel Klatt and a few others yesterday went out of their way to show that Indiana's strength of schedule is better than Miami, better than Texas, better than a couple of others. And so Joel Klatt's like, listen, I don't know what to tell you. You got no problem putting them in at 11-1. Then why are you not going to put Indiana in? And he also went on to point out that Indiana held Ohio State to the fewest yards they've had in a game all year. that their defense actually was pretty good. Their special teams were terrible, but the defense actually showed it belonged. But number 3, like, I got to be honest, there's a part of me that wants to put Georgia. I know 2 losses. I get it. I know they've had some bad performances. I know, but I mean, Georgia, Texas, we've already seen it. Georgia, Penn State, Georgia, Notre Dame. I think Georgia's beaten all these teams. Now,
Notre Dame's interesting to me because I think you could put Notre Dame at 3.
Okay.
They're not just beating teams, they're destroying teams.
They are in the last
everybody
month.
knows how much
Yep.
I love the Fighting Irish. So there's no bias here when I'm speaking about putting Notre Dame high.
Yep. And yet they have the worst loss of the season in college football amongst the major programs. 28-point favorite. Okay. I got no problems, by the way, you put Notre Dame at 3.
I'd probably put Notre Dame 3. I like where your head's at with Georgia. If you rank Georgia ahead of Texas, can you really look at that and say it's a bad ranking? They beat them. Yes, they've lost 2 games, but who's Texas played?
Well, and I think most everyone, if they had played Georgia's schedule, would be 9-2. I really do. I mean, Georgia's played a schedule this year.
For as bad as it was a year ago, this year it has been murderer's row.
So, I mean, that's who I'm leaning for 3, but you're going Notre Dame. I can live with that. So you got Indiana, you got Miami, you got SMU, you got Penn State, you got Texas. These are all the one-loss, the 10-1 teams, if you will. How you ranking them? Tennessee also. When do we start getting into more of the 2-loss SEC teams? Just kind of curious how you'd all fill out your ballot.
I think I'd go Notre Dame 3. And then I'm trying to figure out whether I'd put Georgia 4, Texas 5, Penn State 6. That's kind of where my head is.
All right.
I have no problem, whatever you want to do with Miami and SMU, by the way.
Well, here's my question. Do you put them ahead of Tennessee? Miami and SMU have 1 loss. Tennessee has 2. Now, there's no doubt that Tennessee's played a better schedule. But this just comes down to you look at the resume and then also your gut feeling. I mean, Miami, SMU, Tennessee. Remember, the coaches and AP poll, they have SMU behind both Miami and Tennessee.
And should they? Just on those 3, David. SMU lost to BYU.
Mm-hmm. Close.
It's the best loss. I mean, if you're comparing this, their loss is better than what Miami has lost to.
Yeah, sure.
What's Miami's signature win? Florida?
Well, there's no doubt that one's getting better.
It is.
I would argue Louisville. Didn't they beat Louisville middle of the season? I know Notre Dame did. Thought they played Louisville. No?
Schedules get convoluted this time of year to me.
Oh, I know.
Yes, they won at Louisville.
Yeah. I mean, it's a solid win. But yeah, I mean, Miami's strength of schedule, by the way, right there with Indiana's. And that's the other thing about Indiana. Indiana destroyed people Michigan was close, and that's about it. And then they lost to Ohio State.
They've only trailed in 2 games this year. They trailed 10-0 early to Michigan State, and then they obviously trailed to the Buckeyes. That's it.
But to me, and maybe it doesn't matter how they're ranked 3 through 8. Part of it, though, is I'm curious, when do you work Indiana into your survey? Let's just say that we're going with some combination of Notre Dame, Georgia, Penn State, and then we're going with Miami, Tennessee, SMU.
Well, I think Indiana has to be next.
Okay, well, that's 10, I believe.
Yes, it is.
I believe that would put Indiana at 10.
Would you put Clemson ahead of Boise?
No. Clemson's another one. Their resumes, they haven't beaten anybody. Really. I think they've beaten one ranked team or one good team. But in theory, they got South Carolina this weekend. And South Carolina is playing great. South Carolina may be ranked like 20th. South Carolina is playing like a top 12 team in the country right now. That will be a really good win for Clemson. The type that makes you wonder if we have a little bit more turmoil. Can the ACC bang the drum for 3?
I think they can bang the drum for 3. I think the curious one is if the loser of the ACC championship gets bounced and Clemson plays in the playoff.
And I don't think they can do that. Because once you start making the ACC championship game punitive, it's one thing to you get the automatic bye and you get seated somewhere between 5 and 12. Okay, but Mark, I'd be willing to advocate if you lose the conference title game, you don't make the playoff at all, as opposed to if you lose the conference title game, you don't make it, but the third place team in the conference gets to make it in your place. Then it's kind of like, well, I would have forfeited this game and not played in it and taken my postseason bid.
That's what someone asked in the Twitch chat room. Does Georgia rest players in the SEC? Not in the Twitch chat room, on the text line, rather. Does Georgia rest players for the SEC championship game?
Well, how about the big question that's going on in Tuscaloosa right now? The thought is they're out. They're done. So guys are talking about opting out of the Iron Bowl and, or hitting the portal now. Why should I play? If we ain't going to the playoff, why am I playing? Now, this is the Iron Bowl in Alabama, but this is the world we're in right now.
I do think where Boise's ranked matters tonight. How much room do they give the Big 12 for leapfrogging them after their championship game?
Okay, well, first BYU was ahead of them, but they've now lost twice. Colorado had moved to within 3-4 spots of them, but now they lost. So the question mark for us tonight, Arizona State, Boise State. How far behind the Broncos are the Sun Devils?
And in the AP poll, Arizona State's 4 back and Iowa State's 6 back.
And if they end up playing one another in the Big 12 title game, does the winner jump Boise State? Or is the Big 12 champ going to be the 11 or the 12 seed? And Boise's going to be the 4. Which, by the way, if you're the 4, that means the 5 is going to be the loser of the Big 10 title game.
Right.
Which means that they're likely then to win their first round playoff game, which means that you'd end up playing the Oregon or Ohio State in the second round. It's another reason to have these games at home. Could you imagine if one of those teams had to go to the blue turf?
I think the 5 seed's such a advantageous spot if you're not one of the top 4.
I agree. Miller and Moulton. Pat Kirwan will ask him the burning question. Mashed potatoes or stuffing? Wheat thins. Thumbs up, thumbs down. We started our show 18 years ago and have been fired 3 times, but Miller and Moulton have never lived on the edge like we are now. We have our best morning ratings ever, are steadily adding affiliates, yet we only have a few sponsors. And if that doesn't change, we can't continue. But if you want to advertise on Miller and Moulton, reach out to one of us directly by texting sponsor to 21,000 or contact Mark on X at @MarkMiller or me at @TheDavidMoulton. You can save Miller and Moulton and make your business some serious money by texting 21,000 now.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. Cape Coral Police Department is growing. They are currently looking for police officers and are offering a $10,000 signing bonus to newly hired officers. If you desire a career in law enforcement, or if you are already in law enforcement and thinking about making a move to a better agency, think Cape Coral Police Department. If you're looking for a police department that is committed to excellence, that invests in the highest level of training, state-of-the-art equipment, and some of the highest compensation in all of Southwest Florida, then the Cape Coral Police Department is for you. Visit capecops.com. That's capecops.com.
The world-famous cigar bar started as a neighborhood place in downtown Fort Myers, and now it's a brand, a destination, with 4 locations. The original place, Henry Street, Fort Myers, Gulf Coast Town Center, on Southeast 47th Terrace off the Cape Coral Parkway, and the Lounge on West 1st Street in Fort Myers. A place to go, whether you just need a relaxing drink and a smoke after a tough day at work, or a place to go celebrate. From relaxation to celebration, the world-famous cigar bar.
Honey, you want to come out? I haven't seen you since Glass Doctor installed our custom shower enclosure.
No thanks.
Well, you can't keep eating breakfast in the shower, and laminating your magazines is getting expensive. You remember we have guests coming over tonight, right?
Oh, I'm sure they'd love to see the shower.
It's our neighbors, and I highly doubt they want to be hanging out in our bathroom.
The shower's so good, you'll never want to leave. Visit glassdoctor.com today and schedule an appointment online.
Is snoring bothering your spouse? Would you like to sleep in the same bed again? Do you know that snoring can affect your sleep cycle and cause lower testosterone levels? At Sleep Treatment Direct, we have easy solutions. We have a simple laser procedure that can improve snoring in 10 minutes. If you would like to get back in the same bed or are looking for a natural way to treat low testosterone, give us a call at 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Or go to sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Good morning, Mark.
Morning, Pat.
Good morning, fellas.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Just starting to rain up here. I'm still here. We had football Thursday, so I'm not going back home till I get done with this junk. Oh, man. Dallas, Washington. Do you think there were enough special teams plays? Oh, God.
How about the scoring in the last 5 minutes of that game?
Yeah. At the end of the third quarter, was that score 10-9?
Yes.
Yeah, and then mid-fourth, it was 13-9, I thought.
Yeah. Yeah, every special teams coach in the league was showing that, those cut-ups of those special teams plays. That had everything. Blocked field goals, missed field goals, blocked punts, touchdowns, onside kick return touchdowns.
I wanted Washington to score so badly after he ran the onside kick in because the only way they could lose that was for him to run it in.
Yep. And did you see all his friends on the side giving him a high five like he did something great?
Exactly.
You know, that's the players just don't know the rules and they don't understand the situation. Someone said, don't they practice today? I said, well, it happens once every 5 years, maybe less. I'm sure they went over it, but it doesn't mean they recall it. But you should be telling them that as they line up to go out there. They're going to kick onside. If it comes to you, go down with the football. Repeat after me. Go down with the football.
Only way we can lose this game is if you score a touchdown.
Yeah.
And you can see it on Mike McCarthy's face, too.
Yeah, you could.
Right away, he's like, oh, God.
And he's got a special teams coach that knows what he's doing. It's not like he's a dope. He's smart. Big old bones. I thought for sure. I guarantee he went over it with them. They didn't care. It's unbelievable. How about the guy who was a kick returner who let the ball go in the end zone and he started to go to the sideline because what the heck? And the ball did not go out of the back of the end zone. He had to run back and dive on it. Well, this is the time of year where your core special teamers are being moved up to starting roles because of injuries, and you're bringing practice squad bozos in to handle the jobs, and they don't know what they're doing.
No show on Friday, by the way, Pat.
I think I've been with you guys long enough to know that.
Just wanted to make sure that you knew.
Well, I appreciate you and your concern for me, because I would have called or texted you going, "What are we on or not?" And you would have said, "I reviewed this just like the kickoff. Don't run for a touchdown and don't call on Friday."
At least the good thing is I know you don't get up for this segment. Okay, so you've already been up for 3 hours.
I started work at 4:30 today because I couldn't sleep, and I go, you know what? I think I might drive to Jersey today, but I can't do that because that's like 3 hours of prep time that I need. So let me just get up and do the prep now. So I was happy to get up and do it. You had a good game last night, David.
Well, if that doesn't, on paper, that should have been a good game.
We got a great one.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And we are halfway home in the 239 and the 904 for Miller and Moulton. It's the final hour of Miller and Moulton on this final Tuesday of November for Lake City and surrounding areas, for Charlotte County and surrounding areas. And we begin every Tuesday at this time with Pat Kirwan. He of NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, CBS's NFL Today show. And he joins us once again, courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, all points in between. Pinchers, where you can't fake fresh. Good morning, Pat. How are you?
Good morning, fellas. I'm doing fine, and I enjoyed the game last night. It was two pretty good quarterbacks and fun game to watch. I just think all they did was end up swapping spots in a wild card, right? 6 went to 5 and 5 went to 6. So they're all in good shape. Going for it on 4th down.
Woo!
John, there's no way there's an analytics report that told him to do that. Some guy, he's a real follower of analytics. No, I read enough reports. No one's ever told anyone to go for it on 4th down where he was on the field, with the game not in balance where you had to get it. No, that's that's John going, I'm not losing to my brother.
And now he's 3-0. And Pat, I thought the game was, I knew that the Chargers were going to try to run the ball. The Ravens' pass defense not good, but their run defense was stout again last night.
Yeah, and what made it impressive was no Roquan. Mr. 15 tackles is standing right there. He can shed a blocker every time someone tries to block him, and he makes plays. So I thought they were going to have a hole in the middle and it was going to be exploited, but nope. It was very well done. I love watching Baltimore because I'm a big fan of Derrick Henry. I don't know how long he can keep doing this, but I said to David just before we start, we got one big game this weekend, and we have Philly and Baltimore. You look at the two running backs in that game, they have over 2,500 yards between them already, and then the two quarterbacks that can run. It's a very unique game. Two athletic quarterbacks, two powerhouse running backs. I was working on that game this morning. It got more exciting the more I dug into it.
Well, and they're having such a terrific season, are Barkley and Henry, that a running back could actually enter the MVP conversation.
Yes.
Right? Now, probably not for long, but they're at least on the edges of the MVP conversation. Do you think, Pat, like Henry's 30, but Saquon's what, 27?
I think it's 27.
is it possible, in McCaffrey's season that he had a year ago, is it possible that maybe these guys are establishing a little bit of a market for the value of a running back again? That, not that, the league's not going to pay 15 of them. But do you think maybe going forward, GMs will go, there are 3 to 4 guys at that position worthy of paying?
Yeah, I think they studied every trend that happens, and that it was not just those two. It's Josh Jacobs and it's Joe Mixon. For starters, those guys have made an impact on the teams they went to, and they've left the team they were at in disarray. And that's where I think the whole subject comes in. So if you're a GM with a good running back, or a very good running back, you got to think twice about letting them go for dollar reasons, because look at the Bengals. Look at the Raiders, look at Tennessee, look at the Giants. They have not recovered from the loss of those running backs. So I think you're onto it, David. I think this year, and I got to look at the list. I haven't really studied it, but I think someone's going to say that is not going to be us this year, not after 4 teams did what they did last year.
Are the Lions peaking too early? Can they continue this? I mean, this is unprecedented, not just for Detroit, but for any team with the point differential of what they're doing. Are they peaking too early?
It's a good question. I think they have so many weapons. I think the quarterback can withstand sacks, which is, a big part of this. He's not really going to run around, but he can get sacked 3 or 4 times and still be able to put 30 points on the board. So look, it's a 2-horse race in the NFC. It's just them or Philly. I think when you really study the rest of it, they're in a class of their own, those two. The other 2 that are going to be seed 3 and 4, they're not even close. Seed 5 might be the next biggest problem. Maybe it's Minnesota. But do you see anyone in the class of Philly and Detroit?
Well, Pat, I think there's a chance that the 2nd and 3rd place teams in the North will beat the 3 and 4 seeds in the first round of the playoffs, so that the final 4 in the NFC could be Detroit, Philly, Minnesota, Green Bay. And those would be interesting divisional games. And both Minnesota and Green Bay will not be freaked out by if they had to go to Detroit. And, especially if it was Green Bay going to Philly. Okay. I think that would be a pretty damn interesting game.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. And I do think you're on to 2 wild cards getting to the final 4 in the NFC. I see that coming as well. But I do think the way Philadelphia mauls people with Saquon, and the quarterback has got an X factor as a runner, I still think that the other teams, although it put up a nice fight, I think Darnold is not going to be in that group. And I think, and I'm just doing a little bit on Love today. I'll work more on him tomorrow. But he has holes in his game that sometimes the deep ball stuff, yards per catch for the last month, it's over almost 15 yards a catch. But I think his game is a little shaky to me, where I don't see that problem with Detroit and Philadelphia's defense. All of a sudden, everything came to life. We talk about those tackles all the time, but they're pretty physical. We're going to do a little special. I like Nakobe Dean. I had him on about 2 weeks ago, and now we're going to do something with him this weekend. He's an interesting little guy whose heart is nails, that kid.
Well, I love what Philadelphia's defense is doing right now as well. I mean, you are right that these two seem to be the class, Philadelphia and Detroit. And if they get to play one another in an NFC title game, it would be an old school football game, because these two teams love to run the football.
They do. I think it's important for Detroit to play that game at home with that passing game of theirs and all the weapons they have. I think the predictability of the indoor is important for them, where Philadelphia, the worse the weather, the more Saquon might beat you. I kind of like the other one. And I'll tell you, when I watch Gibbs, all I see is Alvin Kamara. That's all I see when I watch that guy. That's what he reminds me of every time he touches the ball.
Pat, there is a thing, if you lose the Super Bowl, historically in the last quarter century, you haven't done all that well the next year, more times than not. But, I mean, Pat, let's be honest. None of us thought San Francisco was going to miss the playoffs this year. I mean, if you thought maybe the window's closing, they are getting a little old in the tooth, in certain places. But Pat, I mean, the Niners are going to miss the playoffs.
Yeah, they are going to miss the playoffs, and it's kind of shocking in a sense. But if you study all those injuries, we talked about this last Friday, the amount of starters from the defense that are not there is a real problem for them. And then, of course, the quarterback's wounded. They're the team that should be signing Daniel Jones, but I don't know if they will. But that's where I would go if I was Daniel Jones, to be around Shanahan. So my credentials change once he starts telling people how good he is. You guys brought up something last week, man. Did it come raining truth? So Thursday, we see Cleveland beat Pittsburgh. And that conversation Friday about watch out for these divisional games that are all coming like crazy now. And then what happens? We see Tennessee win a game they weren't supposed to win. We see Dallas win a game they weren't supposed to win. And we see Seattle win a game that was at least debatable. Those division games are extremely exciting right now. And you start to realize and remind me of, divisional play is different. And these teams that came and beat teams, they were underdogs and they won. And Cleveland did it. Tennessee did it. Dallas did it. New England didn't do it, of course. But we got another 6 divisional games. I think I'm going to spend a little more time than usual trying to find the upset in that group. I think Mark asked me last week, which one of these underdogs do you like? And I couldn't find one. And now I'm mad at myself because I should remember divisional play is different.
How worried are you about Washington right now?
Washington, Atlanta, and Houston. Those are I'm worried about your teams. And it really bothers me to look at them because I feel like there's a little bit of fading going on, and I don't know how you stop it. And people are being critical of a lot of things. They always want to, blame the coach, Dan Quinn. Dan just took over. Atlanta, I talked to their coach yesterday. I said, what's the number one thing you worry about? And he goes, every night I worry about our pass rush. And we're going to have to manufacture it now. And so I do worry about those two teams quite a bit. And Houston looks to me like they're a little shaky. I don't know if anyone's going to catch them, but there's going to be 2 4 seeds that I don't think the 5 seed is going to be worried about playing. That's how I look at it.
Atlanta right now is the 4 in the NFC because they lost head-to-head to Seattle. So Seattle technically in first in the West, and they are the 3. Falcons, Pat, to reiterate Raheem Morris's point, giving up almost 25 points a game. In Washington's case, though, do you think that this is Daniels hitting the rookie wall, people figuring out Kingsbury's scheme in the last 3 weeks? Or just, they probably weren't as good as their record and they're coming back to the mean? We got about a minute or so here.
Yeah.
What is it when you look at Washington that you think is going on?
As soon as Jaden Daniels got that rib injury and they've been wrapping him between series, he hasn't been the same guy. He eventually started throwing a few deep balls last week. But that whole thing about criticizing the OC, it's the same problem quarterbacks have. Everyone will turn right to Sam Darnold and say, see that? He was always a thrower of interceptions. As soon as this happened, they said the OC, his offense fizzles out. No, they scored 3 nice touchdowns with his offense, but the quarterback's not 100%. But consequently, they get exposed for not being ready for primetime right now. So I would think those 3 teams are not going anywhere in the postseason.
Just worry to me about Daniels because not the biggest guy. We all love him, but getting injured in his first year, you hope that this is a one-off, Pat, because obviously the style in which he wants to play is going to make it difficult for him to run around in this league.
Maybe, but I sit with Lamar a lot. Lamar is skinny. He used to be built, but he lost all that weight. When he sat down with me this year, I thought I was looking at a track runner. And he was proud of it. He's 200 pounds. Before the season started, I'll bet you right now he's about 195.
He's Pat Kirwan, SiriusXM's NFL Radio, moving the chains, CBS's NFL Today show. He joins us twice a week, courtesy of Pinchers. Tampa to Key West and all points in between. Pinchers, where you can't fake fresh. Our remaining moments with Pat Kirwan coming up.
Defining a new era in men's health. Get stronger and healthier at Game Day Men's Health. With our in-house laboratory, get in, get treated, and get back to your passion and purpose. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs or Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for a 10% discount on your service. Start living your best with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples. Call 239-427-3441 today.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
For more than 22 years, Jason and Todd have celebrated Thanksgiving weekend with the Diamond District family. This year, they're kicking off the holidays with luxury, and it starts with free silver and gold bars and coins. With any purchase of $900 or more, Jason and Todd will give you gold and silver bars and coins, depending on how much you spend. Jason and Todd will be in the store all weekend to ensure you receive the best buying experience at the Diamond District.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Bum, 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 bum.
So you're staying up for the week?
I got to be at the, I got to be in Thursday morning.
Right.
So if I flew home Sunday night, I'd be flying back tomorrow.
Right.
And I have to be back in for the Sunday. So I wouldn't be, I said, just the hell with it.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Plus, this one, the airports are insane.
Oh my goodness.
This is not a good week. And now they're on strike in Charlotte. They're talking about having some baggage handlers problems in Tampa or something. So I'm happy not to be doing it.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
You getting away for a day or two? Or you just chilling out and playing golf?
Just chilling out. I'll play golf on Friday. My mother-in-law's in town. I mean, we'll have Thanksgiving at the house. So
nice. David's packing.
Yep. It's a Tuesday morning ritual. Getting himself ready to get the hell out as soon as we're done.
Yep.
It's an early wake-up call out west.
Yeah. He's a road warrior. There he is.
He is.
So you're packing your bag over there, just dying to get out.
Well, just,
Yep.
Time's your flight today?
It's not till 4 hours after the show, but LAX sucks.
Oh, God.
And you can literally wait 40 minutes just for the rental car bus to pick you up and take you to the airport. Plus, New York, Atlanta, LA, traffic. I mean, I got to go 13 miles. It could take me an hour and 15 minutes.
Yep.
So you leaving pretty much right after the show just to save yourself?
I mean, I got to record this 30-second commercial. Can we do that or no? Because of the
we can do it.
And pretty much pack up the equipment and go. I don't have a problem on a travel day sitting at the airport, because
either do I. Get there, know you're there.
Exactly.
Get something to eat, and
I mean, what am What am I supposed to do besides make the flight?
I'd say have 2 beers so you can sleep better.
Well, but then you do that at the airport.
No, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I mean.
Yeah, totally.
Have a breakfast beer. It'll be early for you and go right to bed.
I hate asking, do you have a nonstop?
No,
Yeah.
Jacksonville's worse than Fort Myers in terms of the
Yeah.
plus from LA. Like I can either do Delta through Atlanta or I could do American through Dallas or United through Houston, but I have to stop.
Yeah.
I can't get direct. I got really lucky, Pat, though. The first part of this travel was to Minneapolis. There was a direct from Jacksonville to Minneapolis, and I got upgraded to first class. And then there was a direct from Minneapolis to LA, and I got upgraded to first class. So
there you go. Count your blessings.
Yeah.
Now you're in the Thanksgiving traffic. Ugh.
Yeah, today will be better than tomorrow, though. But yeah.
Oh, you ain't kidding. Yeah.
Plus, they got a lot of construction around LAX. It's kind of LAX now is because they're doing this all to get it done for the Olympics. LAX, remember when they were redoing LaGuardia?
Yep.
And it took a few years, and it was just a show. That's kind of what LAX is.
Man. Well, get some sleep on the plane.
Mm-hmm. And I can do that. I'm good at it.
Yeah. I sleep on a plane before it even takes off.
That's me. I never make takeoff.
Nope.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
Our remaining moments with Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, CBS's NFL Today show. Joining us as always, courtesy of Pinchers, and he does so on the American Paint Supplies hotline, your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. Question in our Twitch chat room. Your thoughts on Denver after the 0-2 start? They've now won 7 of 10. They've had a couple reality checks along the way. They got humiliated by Baltimore, and yet they were in position to beat Kansas City. The rookie quarterback's coming on. What's your thoughts about the Broncos?
I think they're going to hold on to the 7 spot. That's the first thing I'll say. I think they'll battle and win enough to just hold off everybody, which I think is a very good thing. That's a pretty big achievement for Sean Payton. Sean has figured out what the quarterback can do. He's not rigid with him about be like Breeze, because this guy gets outside the pocket and does stuff that Breeze never does or did. So I like where the kid is. I mean, he is in the conversation for the MVP or the Rookie of the Year award, if you will. And rightfully so. He's doing a nice job. You a minute ago were talking about the rookie wall, and I was looking at the rookie quarterbacks and the second-year guys, and they landed up being 2-6 this past week. And he was one of the winners. And then, of course, the funniest winner of all, Levis, with 8 sacks wins. But I do like where Denver is. They play damn good defense. So they have enough going on to be a 7. I don't think they'll go very far, because if you look at who they really play, getting close is not going to be good enough. So I think they're a year away from being a bigger contender, but they certainly should make it, and we'll all be praising Sean Payton for that.
I think they'll be a tougher out than people imagine, though, with that defense. That's the one thing when it gets to the postseason, that defense will travel. So I think they're a tougher out than maybe others would expect. But one of the teams trying to catch them is the Miami Dolphins. Now, you just said that you think Denver gets a 7, so no one catches them. But Tua, since he's come back, has played really well. What do they have for the Packers Thursday night?
That's a game that's going to tell a lot of truth about who's who and what's going on, because, again, when you look at Miami, they're playing better defense, which I like. That's number one thing I like about those guys. I find it amazing that even though Tyreek's missed some games, he's played enough that when you look at Tyreek Hill and Waddle, what do they have in touchdowns between them? Almost none, like 4 or 5 combined. I think it's I think that's what it is. I haven't looked closely at it, but I knew the other day when I took a peek, it wasn't very good. The thing about Tyreek that shocked me, I do have this number. He's like 8 yards of reception for the last month or so since Tua got back. So not impressed totally with them. The defense is pretty strong, so that part I like. But I like Green Bay as well, and I think we all want to talk about Tua in the cold. I went through his whole life in pro football. He's 1-4 on a cold day up north. So we're waiting to see if he can actually – I think the only team he's ever beaten up north are the Jets.
Well, and he's going to get a chance to beat the Jets twice, but he's got a cold weather game Thanksgiving night in Green Bay. He's also last 2 weeks, Browns, Jets, both on the road. So if the Dolphins are going to make a serious playoff run here, they're going to have to win some cold weather road games, something they really haven't done since the great Dolphins teams in the 70s, to be brutally honest. I will say the Dolphins schedule getting a little softer by the day because the games against Houston and San Francisco looked really difficult 3-4 weeks ago, and now not as difficult. Well, do you think they've got something for Green Bay, though? I mean, we don't think the Bears are going to have much for Detroit. The Cowboys-Giants game is the one that we eat and nap through. I mean, we usually have some good Thanksgiving football, and if Miami doesn't give us something for Green Bay, we could have a lost day.
I think the game will be fine. Jordan Love, his interceptions worry me as we get to bigger games. He'll do okay. And this is yards per reception. He's throwing nice big chunk pass plays around. He'll do that. And they got Jacobs. So the Miami defense was pretty stout right now. They've got to deal with Jacobs. And that guy, we talked about running backs before. And this guy, here's the deal with him. 18 carries or more, they're undefeated, 6-0. Feed Jacobs, and you'll be fine.
Pat, we've talked a lot about running backs. Derrick Henry, when they've lost, he's had like 13 carries. You just talked about the numbers with Jacobs. What is it that offensive coordinators forget when they get in these games and know that the way to win is to run the football? Is it just at getting stopped early and they get pass happy? Or what happens to an OC when they get away from what their bread and butter should be?
Well, it's a great question for line coaches, and that's who I like to ask. And I ask that question a lot, Mark. And line coaches go, well, here's my OC. And they always complain about the OCs because they we know why the line coaches have the Mushroom Society. It's feed them, and keep them in the dark. That's how they see themselves. But they will tell you that if you run the ball on first down and gain no yardage, they will not run the ball again. If they throw an incompletion on first down, they'll throw again. So these guys, they fall out of love with the running game really fast, and they panic over it. And then, of course, someone's losing in the game, and most of these coaches bail out on the run game as soon as they're behind, unless you have Derrick Henry or Barkley or somebody. So they don't believe in the running game, and I think we've said this many times on this show. When these OCs interview for the job and get the job, it's because they just tell the world about their passing game. And, oh, yeah, we'll run the ball, but they don't really mean it. And they do surrender, to your point, Mark. They'll walk away from the run game, but they will not do that to the passing game.
Should we be concerned about the Chargers? Dobbins hurt. He was basically their bell cow back. There's only one receiver they can count on. They don't really have a tight end. There's not a lot of explosiveness to this team. They didn't have a pass rush last night. Bosa's hurt. He was invisible. Khalil Mack is shot. I mean, yeah, I know they're 7-4, but they got 4 games coming up here against, Atlanta, Kansas City, Tampa Bay, Denver. I mean, should we be concerned?
Yeah, but I do think they'll go 2-2 in those games. And they've gravitated to more of a passing attack in the last month. And they all of a sudden they went from throwing the ball 18 to 22, 23 times up into the 30s. And Gus Edwards is going to be fine for them. And if he gets hurt, they could have a bigger problem. There's always a running back you can go grab somewhere and dust off Latavius Murray. You can do a couple different things there. But I think the quarterback is an interesting guy that can win a lot of games. I think 2-2 in that one gets them to 9, right?
And then their last 2 are favorable. I think
Yeah.
it's New England and the Raiders. So
Right.
it's
They get to 10.
Yeah.
They'll be in, and that'll be that,
Okay.
But Baltimore or Pittsburgh is going to be the 5, and that's going to be a bad day for the 4 seed. Whoever we know what's going to happen there. They're going to get crushed by the team who's second place in the AFC North.
Pittsburgh or Baltimore right now, who wins that division?
Oh, man, I think Baltimore still can win it.
I do too.
Did you see those stats? And, listen, we can all take stats with a grain of salt, but this Ravens offense is the best offense statistically since the greatest show on turf Rams of 2000 and 2001. I mean, that's jaw-dropping.
It is jaw-dropping, and we have them this week, and it's a game that I'm going to be working on with Coach Cowher here as soon as I'm done with you guys. And there's so much similarities with Philly. This will be a big test for them. As I said earlier, there's a lot of things that they have in common, but if they're to beat Philadelphia, then that would make me very comfortable that they're going to win the division. But they could lose this game.
Well, and the Steelers and Ravens both have the Eagles down the stretch. They could, determine who wins the AFC North, ironically. He's Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's Moving the Chain, CBS's NFL Today show, joining us once again, courtesy of Pinchers. Tampa to Key West, all points in between. Pinchers, where you can't fake fresh. Pat, happy Thanksgiving. Safe travels if you're doing any, and thanks for all that you give to us over the years.
I enjoy your company, fellas. Wouldn't be a football week if I wasn't talking to you guys twice a week. Enjoy your day with your families. And David, get home, will you please? Get off the road.
Performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best. Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
Do you have a sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I text you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Vietnam. Okay, Big Mouth Rob.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes till the top of the hour. The Diamond District bonus hour will begin then with Chris Perkins, who covers the Dolphins for a living. He will join us here on Miller and Moulton. Any chance of us getting a good game on Thanksgiving? Bears at Lions? Giants at Cowboys?
It's a divisional game. I think that there's a chance that Chicago shows up with something for Detroit.
10.5-point dog are the Bears, having lost 5 in a row. And the Lions are beating everybody by double digits. I mean, everybody. Do the Giants show up against Dallas after being humiliated by Tampa Bay? I mean, these are professionals. And, Mark, you see it all the time in all the sports. When a professional either embarrasses themselves or gets embarrassed, they usually respond the next week, whether they're a good team or not.
You think Malik Neighbors gets any targets in the first quarter for the Giants?
I sure hope so. Do you have a problem with what he said?
No.
I don't either.
He's your best player. He's your best offensive weapon. And in the first half, he didn't get a target. Not a target.
Right. Yep. No, I know. Bucks don't have a shutdown corner either. No, I know. And when asked about it,
I love the fact that he said, I'm sick of losing. Because if you listen to it, you could take his comments as diva wide receiver, but if you listen to the whole thing, at the end of it, he says, I'm sick of losing.
Yep. Well, I mean, let's face it. He played his college ball at LSU. He's lost more games this year with the Giants than he lost in his whole college career. Used to playing meaningful football. I don't have a problem. You know me. Not only do I love my diva wide receivers, but, he's saying, hey, man, get me the ball. If I'm the number one playmaker on the team, we got to throw the ball in my direction, don't we? And when asked about why not, he said, talk to the coaches. Now, I understand the coaches and the quarterback end up having to, cover for diva wide receivers when they drop a ball, when they run a bad route. And diva wide receivers don't necessarily cover for the coach and the quarterback in other situations. It comes with the territory. Listen, Mark, as a Giants fan, I just like anybody showing any emotion at all. I like people actually being honked off. I mean, don't you want to see that when your team's losing? I mean, please tell me this bothers you a little bit. Or have you checked out and cashed out? I mean, please let me know. I mean, because, Mark, this franchise owes me nothing. I mean, during my lifetime, they've gone to the big game 5 times, won it 4. I've said they owe me nothing the rest of my life. I hope to live another 15, 20 plus years. And this franchise owes me nothing. Nothing. They could become the worst franchise in the league, and they may be. Okay, and do it for another 15 years. And I'd be like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you, man. From the age of 20 to the age of 50, they went to the big game 5 times and won it 4. I'm good. But, I mean, this is even bad for somebody like me who can handle the losing.
Be interested to see what their performance is like this week against Dallas. And, Dallas thinks they found a little something in their game against Washington. We'll see if they can win 2 in a row. That one's a 4-point spread. The Packers are only a 3-point favorite over Miami.
I know. I thought it'd be more like 5.5.
I did too. Now, Alexander, the corner, is he still going to be out?
Don't know. Probably. I would count on it. But then again, as Pat just pointed out, it's not like the Dolphins have won 3 in a row because they're Tyreek Hill and Jalen waddling teams to death. I mean,
Well, Waddle had a pretty nice game last week.
He did. First time in a while.
Yeah.
And Tyreek, who was an MVP candidate most of last year, is, I don't want to say he's in the witness protection program, but I mean, he is. Teams are taking him off the field and forcing the Dolphins to go elsewhere. In the last 3 weeks, they have.
And he has seemed to be, not divaing it up. He seems to have been a good teammate. I'll be curious what Chris Perkins thinks when we talk to him coming up in about 20 minutes' time.
Well, you asked that question to Chris late last week, and he chuckled. And he said, well, Tyreek didn't talk after the Raiders game?
Yeah.
Said, yeah, Tyreek left quickly. And Chris came to the conclusion that Tyreek will keep his mouth shut as long as they're winning. But if he's catching 3 balls for 23 yards and they start losing, he ain't going to be quiet.
David, I need to update you on our poll questions.
Thank goodness. It's the only thing people care about today.
Better side dish in our Thanksgiving week poll question number 2, mashed potatoes or stuffing. Mashed potatoes has made a remarkable comeback, now getting 51% of the vote.
Yes. All right. Yes. I like it.
But in a more shocking turn of events, wheat thins now have a 55% delicious total and a 45% terrible total.
Oh, my goodness. Once again,
I blame, first off, it's the right answer, but if anybody's to blame for this, it's you. You haven't retweeted it, nor have you answered the question.
I sure did. I retweeted it, and I answered. It's horrendous. I did it during a break.
Wheat thins are delicious.
They're horrendous.
Maybe I didn't retweet it. I thought I retweeted it. I'll retweet it again. Either way. There we go. So those are the 2 poll questions. Go to Miller_Moulton on X, that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, to vote on 2 very dynamic poll questions here on the show today. We've got to get ready because rumor has it the poll question's sponsored next week. So we've got to get in the habit of having a poll question because if it's sponsored, then we'll take care of it.
You always said that. Okay, when we were a little shaky about doing a daily poll question, you said, well, if we had a sponsor, well, the Swamp Buggy races in Naples took care of that next week. Yeah. In fact, there were little things that we could have offered them. And I strategically said, hey, how about we put you on the poll question? You'll get more mentions, thinking also, now Mark's going to have to do 5 of them.
And in a non-Thanksgiving week, that's actual work.
Right. Although people seem to love the question so much, who knows? Maybe we come back with mashed potatoes and stuffing at some point next week.
Boy, speaking of which, I've got to go to the grocery store today. It's going to be a zoo in there. I mean, I might wear a helmet.
Waited a little late, didn't you? Although from a food
I've got
standpoint,
everything.
you don't want to get it too early, right?
Yeah, you can't get some things too early. I got to get a couple of things today. I'll be in and out in a hurry, but I'm probably gonna wear a bicycle helmet inside just in case.
Do you think people will appreciate the humor or no?
I doubt.
I would.
No one seems to have a sense of humor anymore about anything, David.
Well, you got that right. Man, oh man, you got that right. I found it interesting what David Samson had to say an hour and a half ago. If you missed it, millerandmoulton.com at some point after the show. He said, they never stepped in to help us out in Miami. We played a pro player stadium with no roof for a long time. They never adjusted the schedule to help us out. Not once.
Well, the other part that I thought was interesting that he said he doesn't really mind, that he doesn't think the Rays players mind being on the road for all those games because they don't draw. And when you don't draw, playing on the road's more exciting than playing at home because at least there's some sort of a crowd there. I experienced that working in minor league hockey where I worked for a team that packed the joint, and it usually brought the visiting team's best effort because a lot of these teams didn't play in front of big crowds. And when the game was sold out, the juice of the stadium or the arena got them a little more fired up to play.
47 of the Rays' first 59 games. So they will play 12 road games in April and May. 12. That's 2 weeks on the road. That's 6 or 7 weeks at home. But then you do the math. 103 games left, 69 of them on the road, only 34 at home. For 4 months, 34 home games. I mean, that's a week, basically. A little more than a week for 4 months. Oof.
I am just curious how they draw. I really am. With all these games jumped in the front end, kids are still in school for the majority of this, so taking your family out on a Tuesday night to a game becomes problematic if you're trying to get a kid that's got to go to school the next day. So it's largely an adult crowd. Now, I know it's not a lot of tickets, but they've never sold a lot of tickets. So I'm curious how they draw with all these games piled on one after another in the early part of the season.
Well, in theory, between now and then, we will know whether or not the Rays are staying or, in all likelihood, leaving at the very least St. Pete. Don't you think that will matter greatly as to whether or not these games are sold out? I mean, if they're leaving, I mean, if you lived in Tampa, would you go to the game? Unless their opponent was someone you wanted to see?
I would, because I think it's going to be a great atmosphere. I think it's going to be intimate. I think it's going to be like you went and watched Arizona play at that college arena.
Yeah, at Arizona State, right. Flyers and Coyotes there at Arizona State in front of 4,500. Yeah, I loved it.
I got a text from a buddy that just said, what if the Rays make it to the World Series this year? Do they play in a minor league park? Yes, they do.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Tickets will be a fortune, by the way.
Could you imagine a playoff game at Steinbrenner Field?
Oh, it'd be awesome. I think it would. You? I think it'd be awesome.
I think it would be great. I think the TV networks would freak out over having to shoot a game in a minor league ballpark.
Well, maybe, but then again, first off, ESPN does the wild card round. They do the Little League World Series. I mean, can Steinbrenner Field be worse than Williamsport?
No, you're probably right. But it's more work for them because they're not set up for it. There's just a lot more work that is involved.
Wouldn't you love to see a first round best of 3 held at Steinbrenner Field?
Yes.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 11,000 a night. First off, what they'll charge for those tickets be pretty damn pricey. I mean, we're not talking Texas A&M prices or anything. Have you seen what the cheapest ticket is to get into the Kyle Field?
Like $600, right?
That's over $7 now. Yeah.
It'd be higher if A&M would have beaten Auburn.
I don't know if it would. I don't know if it matters. They haven't played in 13 years. I don't know.
A&M Super Bowl. We've only been telling you this since April.
Yep. We think literally that program would give years off their life to win this game. They hate Texas. Hate them. Wanted no part of them. Were thrilled when they left Texas in the Big 12. Remember how Texas A&M went kicking and screaming when the SEC was bringing Texas in? And A&M tried to appeal to Florida and Georgia and South Carolina and say, hey, come on now. There could come a day where they're talking about bringing in Florida State and Georgia Tech and Clemson. You guys always said you'd be against that. And those 3 schools looked them in the eyes and said, you know how much money we're talking here? Besides, we got the call from Birmingham. We're voting for this.
I want A&M to win for the chaos it causes. Because if you really want college football chaos, then you want more of A&M winning on the weekend.
You do. You want a 3-loss team in the SEC championship game taking on Georgia. Absolutely. By the way, would that not embody the difference that 1 year can make? 10-2 versus 9-3 in Atlanta. I mean, Mark, off the top of my head, we did the last, 30, but I was a part of the last 18 SEC championship games. I'm trying to remember if somebody made it there with 2 losses. You'd have 10-2 taking on 9-3. That's if Georgia beats Georgia Tech,
which is no guarantee.
Georgia Tech head coach made a mistake. He's done a good job, and he did a really good job in the portal this year. He's put a good team together. He just made a mistake. He said out loud, "I hate Georgia."
That's a mistake.
There's nothing I hate more than Georgia, he said. That's a mistake.
That was the A&M coach saying we're looking forward to Texas.
Even though that was a misstatement, okay?
What was it? Was it, David?
Well, I think it was. But yes, Auburn didn't take it that way. But this is a mistake. You don't poke the bear here. With the bear's bigger than you and faster than you, you want the bear to hibernate. Yes, that was a mistake. That's going to come back and bite him. For those in Lake City and Charlotte County, hey, thanks for listening. Chris Perkins of the Diamond District Bonus Hours next.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing. They are currently looking for police officers and are offering a $10,000 signing bonus to newly hired officers. If you desire a career in law enforcement, or if you are already in law enforcement and thinking about making a move to a better agency, think Cape Coral Police Department. If you're looking for a police department that is committed to excellence, that invests in the highest level of training, state-of-the-art equipment, and some of the highest compensation in all of Southwest Florida, then the Cape Coral Police Department is for you. Visit capecops.com. That's capecops.com.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
Do you have a sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound. Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor, a neighborly company.
The world-famous cigar bar started as a neighborhood place in downtown Fort Myers, and now it's a brand, a destination, with 4 locations. The original place, Henry Street, Fort Myers, Gulf Coast Town Center, on Southeast 47th Terrace off the Cape Coral Parkway, and the Lounge on West 1st Street in Fort Myers. A place to go, whether you just need a relaxing drink and a smoke after a tough day at work, or a place to go celebrate. From relaxation to celebration, the world-famous cigar bar.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Morning, Chris.
How are you?
Doing
Morning,
great,
gentlemen.
Doing great. How about yourself?
Good, good. Early happy Thanksgiving to you.
Right back at you.
And to you as well. With that in mind, we have some Thanksgiving poll questions this week. White meat or dark meat?
Oh, okay. I'll do that. I'm dark meat.
Okay. Today's question is mashed potatoes or stuffing?
Oh, stuffing.
Okay.
2 correct answers so far.
I like it.
And
I'll be back next week.
and the most heated discussion between the two of us: wheat thins, delicious or terrible?
Oh, I'm a Wheat Thins fan. Yeah.
Wow.
Delicious.
3 for
Chris,
3.
Yes.
On my team. CP is on Team Miller this morning. I love it.
Yes, he is.
Here we go, baby. Here we go.
Yeah.
What time do you leave tomorrow?
9:30 in the morning.
Oh,
So
you
yeah,
spend some
going
extended
to,
time in Green Bay.
what's that?
Get to spend some expended time in Green Bay. Get there nights ago.
exactly. Yeah. And actually, I'll be in Appleton.
Okay,
So it's not that far, but yeah, Green Bay hotels, as you would imagine, on game day are just through the roof.
Well, there's
Yeah.
2 of them. I swear, I've only stayed in 2. There's the one they built across from Lambeau, which is only a few years old, and then there's
Yep.
the one downtown on the corner.
Yeah, there's a I know that there's a Marriott because I'm a Marriott guy. I think there's a Residence Inn or something like that in Green
Okay.
Bay, but yeah, it's like $400 a night.
Right. Okay.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And we begin the Tuesday Diamond District bonus hour with Chris Perkins. He has to travel tomorrow with the Dolphins playing Thanksgiving night in Green Bay. So us moving this interview up a day works for him, and it works for us. Chris, of course, covers the Dolphins for the Sun Sentinel, sun-sentinel.com. You can follow him on X at Chris Perk, P-E-R-K. First off, an early happy Thanksgiving. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a little concerned what the airport is going to look like. You know, I usually fly at 6 a.m. I'm first flight in, first flight out. Tomorrow I'm flying at 9:30, so I'm a little bit worried. Yeah, I'm a little worried.
And you should be.
Yeah, that'll make for a long day tomorrow. So hopefully all your travels go well and you get into Wisconsin safely. Chris, I don't know if you know this, but we've got ourselves a winning streak right now, 3 in a row.
How about that? Look, the Dolphins are playing some good football. And look, I will say this. I know that 2 of those wins are against maybe the 2 worst teams in the league, right? In New England and Las Vegas. I don't care, and here's why. The Dolphins are playing well. The penalties are down. The offensive efficiency is up. Chop Robinson is getting some sacks, 3.5 in the last 4 games. That's helped the defensive efficiency. So things are going well. I'm not looking at the opponents as much as how they're playing, how they're managing the game, how they're getting out of tough situations. There are still coaching points, right? Because we saw that boneheaded botched handoff last week, and neither Skylar Thompson nor Jalen Wright came back into the game in the final 10 minutes. So we know where Mike McDaniel's mentality is. No mistakes, no ridiculousness, no nonsense. We're serious about this. And these are the things that I like about how the Dolphins are playing, not necessarily who they've beaten.
Well, now they're stepping up in class, though. There's no question about it. Not a lot of teams in the league 8-3 or better. Green Bay is one of them. Also, the Packers, they've been terrific in terms of AFC. They're 4-0, but then again, they played the South. But what has taken place in the last 3 weeks that makes you believe that the Dolphins are at least ready to compete for 60 minutes with an 8-3 team on the road?
I see their attitude. This team never gave up. Even at 1-3 with Tua hurt at 2-6, this team never gave up. I've always said I like this team's fighting spirit. They're not going to quit. They're not going to quit on Mike McDaniel. They're not going to quit on each other. So that's number one. But number two, again, you look at how they've shifted their game from the big play passing offense to kind of a dink and dunk offense right now. And that's worked for them. Tua looks amazing back there, right? He's like a point guard distributing the ball. He's had some no-look little tosses, right? I mean, the dude is magical back there. Jonnu Smith playing physical, making all the catches. Jalen Waddle emerges last week as a medium range threat, not as the deep threat that he has been the previous 2 seasons, but he had a role. The one thing that I am worried about still is the run game. 3 straight games below 100 yards, but set that aside. This offense is playing efficiently defensively. I mentioned Chop Robinson, but look, Jalen Ramsey is still playing at a high level. Zach Sealer and Calais Campbell still playing at a high level. So, look, Jason Sanders quietly hits a 51-yard field goal last week. So I think he's hit 50, 50, and 51 in his last 3 attempts from 50. He's been strong. So can the Dolphins win? I don't know. I don't know. Being on the road against cold weather teams and playoff caliber teams is kind of one of their downfalls, but they're ready to compete. Definitely, 100%.
It looks like to me, and you kind of alluded to it in some of the things you said about McDaniel taking out Skylar Thompson after the fumble, that they're trying to become a tougher team. There was a lot of flash and a lot of flair to what the Dolphins are, but now getting the tight end more involved. It looks like they're being a tougher team, but in order to finish that off, they've got to find that running game this week, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They do. And I think Alec Ingold, who is making a homecoming, he grew up in Green Bay, but Alec Ingold, the fullback, is a big part of that. You guys know he's got the calf injury. Those are usually multi-week injuries. He missed the previous 2, I'm trying to get my game straight. Well, he played last week after a 2-game absence, and he only played 9 snaps last week. So hopefully he's able to get some rest. Hopefully Teron Armstead, that 4th quarter, he was able to get some rest. And we'll see a difference in the running game with those 2 guys. It's a short week, obviously. You're traveling, obviously. So maybe the Teron Armstead rest and maybe Alec Ingold only playing 9 snaps will help that run game. But yeah, Achane 10 for 32 last week, if I'm not mistaken. They need that run game.
Well, and you touched where I wanted to go, which is at this point of the season, there are a lot of guys who don't practice Wednesday, maybe not even practice Thursday, and they're barely ready to go by the weekend. This is Thursday night on the road. Armstead, okay, the fullback, anybody else. I mean, the Thursday night games, Chris, you study the injury reports in which all of a sudden there's 3-4 guys on each team who suddenly can't play on a Thursday night that we're pretty sure if the game was Sunday afternoon, they'd be able to play. How concerned are you about some of those Dolphin veterans who do a lot of resting this time of the year during the week?
That is a very legit concern and a very good point. Teron Armstead, now, I don't know if I've told you guys this before. He hasn't practiced, I believe, the last 2 weeks. I think Teron's done practicing for the season. I really do, because why do you need to put him out there? And look, along with we talk about the run game. This is a more physical style that the Dolphins are playing. Before they went on this 3-game, fewer than 100 yards rushing drought, they had 5 straight games with more than 100 yards rushing. So that's a more physical style for Ingold, a more physical style for Armstead, more physical style for Achane, for Mostert, for all of these guys. And they're without Austin Jackson, the right tackle. So all of these things, and now you compound a Thursday night road game in cold weather on top of all that stuff. And so, yes, it's very real. Anthony Walker Jr., the linebacker who replaced David Long, has already been ruled out with the hamstring injury he sustained last week. So Sunday game, maybe he doesn't play, but Thursday, 0 chance he plays. He'll be replaced by Terrell Dotson, who had that interception late in the game. So, yeah, the health and the injury Thursday night road game, very real concern this late in the season especially.
We talked about their lack of a running game, but on the other side, Chris, their run defense the last 3 has been maybe the best in the league. It's about 80 yards per game. Can they keep that up against Green Bay and Jacobs?
Ooh, Josh Jacobs. He is a load. 944 yards, number 3 in the NFL. Yeah, that's a good question. Here's the interesting thing that I didn't realize. Josh Jacobs only has 3 100-yard rushing games this year, and number 3 came last week against San Francisco, 104 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns, but he's so central to what they do. Jordan Love is the quarterback, and I think 18 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 92 passer rating, but Josh Jacobs is that hammer. I think Romeo Dobbs, the wide receiver, has a concussion from last week. I've got to double check that. But, yeah, Josh is going to be central to what they do. You've got to stop him. We talked about Zach Sealer and Calais Campbell briefly. Jordan Brooks, the linebacker, is going to be central to that. Chop Robinson setting the edge, right? He's been better at the pass rush. He's also improving in his run defense. So I think all around this Dolphins run defense is playing well. Josh Jacobs is a different level of a challenge, and Green Bay's physicality is also going to be that's on the Buffalo scale, which the Dolphins don't do well. But yeah, stopping Josh Jacobs, that's job one for that defense.
Off the reservation here, do you think the Dolphins are in on Daniel Jones, and do you think they should be?
Ooh, well, I think you should be, but not necessarily for this season. And I wrote a column today saying, is Chris Grier or Mike McDaniel more responsible for the number 2 quarterback situation? I asked Mike McDaniel yesterday, who's responsible for the 53-man roster? Who has the final say? And he said, by rule, it's Chris Grier, but we kind of collaborate on these things. So, in my column, I talked to all the Dolphins backup quarterbacks, Tim Boyle and Snoop Huntley, C.J. Beathard, Skylar Thompson. I talked to Darrell Bevel. They say this offense is very tough to learn in a few weeks. The footwork, the verbiage, the accuracy, the quick reads, getting the ball out of your hand quickly. I think Skylar and Snoop Huntley, Snoop, when he comes back from the injured reserve, will probably be your backup. But I think Daniel Jones is worth getting for next year. I would prefer to have a veteran backup like they did with Teddy Bridgewater a couple of years ago. I think that's your best path to success if Tyler goes down, as opposed to a rookie, unproven, even if he's a first-round pick. So I would like to see them sign Daniel Jones with more of an eye toward the future than this season.
Was Tyreek available for post-game interviews this time? I know I asked you last week, and you said he got out of there pretty quickly, but it's another win. He looked happy on the field when Jonnu Smith scored touchdowns and not him. Is he happy?
That's a good question. Tyreek is a great actor, and so we don't know. I'm trying to think. I don't think that Tyreek was around last game. I didn't see him in the locker room, and I'm just thinking of the quote sheet. I saw HN, Waddle, Ramsey. I don't think Tyreek stuck around. It's a mystery. And then, Jalen Waddle breaks out last week. So you further wonder, what is Tyreek's mentality? How is he handling this? No outward, demonstration so far, except for the deal on the sideline. That was the Monday night game, right? Where he's yelling on the sideline and he's trying to tell us that he's saying, come on, Jalen Wright, come on, 2-5. And it's like, yeah, that's not really what you were saying, Tyreek. so we'll see. But there's been no outward signs that he's disgruntled aside from that. And that was weeks ago.
Chris Perkins, Sun Sentinel, sun-sentinel.com, does an outstanding job covering the Dolphins. And you can follow him on X at Chris Perk, P-E-R-K. Chris, safe travels. Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for fitting us into your busy schedule.
Thanks for having me, as always. Happy Thanksgiving to you guys and everybody out there.
Chris Perkins, very gracious and kind enough to join us here on Miller and Moulton. He's flying into Appleton. It's like 25 minutes away.
Wonder if he can find Trent's girlfriend.
And he could be listening too. His show's done. He might be listening to that. That's outstanding. That's quality material right there.
It's our former producer, Trent Bally, who is a diehard Lions fan and hates the Packers. And we have said that when he finds the woman of his dreams, she will be from Appleton, Wisconsin.
Yep. And he was dating a Packers fan there for a minute and a half.
About a minute and a half. That didn't last too long.
No, well, she made a good first impression, not a good second impression. You gotta make it through the week. Got to get over the hump. She didn't get, she didn't make it past hump day.
Always fun when you have hump day.
It really is, girlfriend or not.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Wine glasses never fall over until you get a brand new rug.
Oh, no!
Ketchup bottles act normal till you're wearing a new shirt.
Oh, you kidding me?
And rocks slide peacefully on the road till the day you get a brand new windshield. Then they fly up off the road and attack without mercy. That's why new windshields from Glass Doctor come with our windshield protection plan. Unlimited repairs and one replacement for 12 months. Don't just fix it, protect it. Glass Doctor, a neighborly company.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing. They are currently looking for police officers and are offering a $10,000 signing bonus to newly hired officers. If you desire a career in law enforcement, or if you are already in law enforcement and thinking about making a move to a better agency, think Cape Coral Police Department. If you're looking for a police department that is committed to excellence, that invests in the highest level of training, state-of-the-art equipment, and some of the highest compensation in all of Southwest Florida, then the Cape Coral Police Department is for you. Visit capecops.com. That's capecops.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Well, no basketball. Of course he doesn't want to be a backup. You tell me, realistically, where can Daniel Jones be a starter next year? Also, reportedly, he had let it be known that for the rest of this year, he'd rather go to a playoff contender. That if the situation was go to the Raiders and actually play, or go be a backup on a playoff contender, he'd rather go to the playoff contender. And you tell me the team that's going to turn to Daniel Jones the way the Vikings turned to Sam Darnold. Now, maybe it's the Raiders. Maybe the Raiders say, you're our bridge in 2025. We're going to go draft somebody, but you'll be the guy next year. Saints? Okay. Possible. Why would the Browns do that? Wouldn't they just keep Jameis? No. First off, they have Anthony Dalton. Secondly, it looks as if now they're sticking with Bryce Young, or Andy Dalton, I should say. Plus, remember, we're talking about going somewhere where he can start right away, not if something happens. But once again, the premise is he goes somewhere and starts. Anthony Richardson is their starter. And they're certainly not going to ditch Richardson before next year. That's only 2 years into his thing. That'd get everybody there fired. They may ditch him after year 3, but not before year 3. I mean, New Orleans is a viable option. Vegas is obviously a viable option. The Jets is interesting. I mean, it's possible.
Welcome to the bonus hour, brought to you by Jason and Todd at the Diamond District. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
I'd like to thank Chris Perkins for joining us on the American Paint Supplies Hotline, your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you were the Dolphins, how interested would you be in Daniel Jones? I mean, we know they need a better backup quarterback. They need a much better backup quarterback. That may end up being what cost them a playoff spot this year. They went 1-3 when Tua got hurt.
I tend to be with Chris. I'm interested in the offseason. I'm not interested now. If you have to get him now to get him for next year, then maybe there's a little something there. But if everything everyone says is true of how hard it is to learn this offense, that bringing him in this year does nothing in case Tua gets hurt again. If Tua gets hurt, they're done.
Right. No, in theory, you're bringing him in. You're bringing him in so that he's your backup quarterback next year. I mean, you're going to sign him on a prorated whatever deal for the rest of this year. But in theory, who's going to pay him top backup quarterback money? Which is what he would need, because in an ideal world, Mark, he's going to want to pull a Sam Darnold. Is there a spot out there where they can pay me $10 million and I can be their bridge quarterback? I can rehabilitate myself around the league. And oh, by the way, they get a starting quarterback for a year. And so, thanks for the playing time. And I'll settle for $10 million when usually you have to pay a lot more than that for a starter. I mean, we were going through it during the commercial break. I mean, we got like 3 legit franchises. Now, we don't include the Giants, obviously, because otherwise they would fit the criteria. But places where, Mark, in theory, he could start next year.
Tennessee.
See, and I would say no. Because they've got between Levis. Let's just say they're going to draft somebody. Well, wouldn't they, if they're looking for somebody to play anywhere from 1 week to 17, wouldn't they stick with either Levis or Mason Rudolph? Because both are cheaper than Daniel Jones.
I guess I wasn't thinking in terms of the rest of this year. I'm thinking beyond this year. If they don't get their quarterback, that Tennessee would be a viable option where he could start, where he'd earn the job.
Okay. I mean, then I'll put him on the list. We came up with New Orleans, that they move off of Carr, save a bunch of money. You're the placeholder for whatever it is they're going to do. Ironically, we came up with the Jets.
Yeah, I don't see that. I don't see him staying in the New York market.
I get it. But, and there's Vegas, of course. I mean, Minshew's hurt, and Aiden O'Connell doesn't appear to be the answer. And even if they're going to try to draft whoever, they may need a bridge. But, I mean, the options right now don't seem to be many in terms of places where Daniel Jones can say, well, I want to start next year, therefore I'm going to sign here. Now, the list would be big if he was willing to be a backup. And I think he could be a well-compensated backup as backup quarterbacks compensation goes.
I think I think the fact that he would demand high dollar as a backup is kind of laughable right now. I don't think the guy can play.
Well, then there you go. But I will say, we know the Dolphins backup quarterbacks can't play.
No, you're right. But as a backup, he'll get signed somewhere. To think about him as a starter right now is a crazy thought to me.
Yeah. Just like many of us thought the idea of Sam Darnold starting in Minnesota. I mean, this is where a coach and or quarterback's coach, offense coordinator, they're really going to have to earn their money because they got to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. This guy's broken.
Vegas makes the most sense. They're going to draft a quarterback, and maybe that quarterback gets hurt in preseason, and then he gets a shot to start because that's the way he's playing. Somebody getting hurt. He's not getting a starting job.
By default would be the only way. And I will say Vegas is pretty close to default. I mean, you got Aiden O'Connell, and that's it.
For the rest of this year, you're right. But they're going to draft someone and probably play him right away.
Well, they're going to try to draft him. That's the other thing. We don't know. They got 6 games left. We got quite a race going on here between Vegas, Jacksonville, and the Giants. Who can, as we like to say, get the horse into the barn. I mean, they're all 2-9, aren't they? Those 3 teams.
They're all 2-9. New England's 3-9. Carolina, Tennessee, the Jets, and Cleveland are all 3-8.
Think about, by the way, Tennessee and Cleveland winning last week. Whew. Taking yourself out of the top 5. I mean, these are costly wins. Browns fans like, I'll do anything to beat the Steelers. I get it. I do. But, I mean, that Tennessee win against Houston, do you really need that? I mean, really?
Organization didn't, but we all know the players still play, and we'll have plenty more of these before the end of the season. Like Cincinnati's a 3-point favorite over the Steelers at home this week.
Yeah, what's up with that?
A 3-point favorite. The 4-7 Bengals, who can't stop anybody, are favored against Pittsburgh.
Both coming off their buys, right?
Well, no, Pittsburgh played Thursday night. Mini bye.
Oh, that's right. Mini bye. Yeah. Feels like a bye. Yeah, I think we're done entertaining the prospect of the Bengals in the playoffs, aren't we? At 4-7, we wrote them off, right?
Yes.
We're reluctantly mentioning the Dolphins and the possibility of the playoffs.
Look, the Bengals don't look like a team that can run the table, and that's what they'd have to do. They do play Denver, so if they run the table, it's possible. But too many division games left for Cincinnati to me to think that they can run the table. And they've got the Steelers twice. Other than that, they'll be favored in it. Well, and they're favored against the Steelers, so they'll be favored in every game until they host the Broncos. And then they play at Pittsburgh the final week. Talk about a team that just blew their opportunities this year.
Well, there are some talented teams that look as if they are going to be on the sidelines. Cincinnati, who was the betting favorite, if you go back and look, they were the slight betting favorite to win the North over the Ravens and the Niners. Whew. They both have losing records heading into December. Could you imagine if we posted that as a bet?
I had both those teams winning the division, so no, I can't imagine that.
And combined, they're 9-13. By the way, you changing your tune on Brock Purdy at all? with what's going on and their injuries and how system dependent they seem to be. And, he's up for a contract after this season. Now, he still has one more year under contract, but they can sign him to a long-term deal this offseason.
I don't know if I'm changing my tune. I mean, the offense without him didn't look very good.
Well, and the offense before he took over 2 years ago didn't look very good either. But we know what the going rate is. I mean, Purdy and his representatives are going to look at the Niners and go, the first digit's a 5, right?
That part I think's a little crazy. That I might play hardball with him on. And see if you can get, because the going rate's 50, he has to get 50?
Well, he certainly doesn't have to settle for less unless there's no one else out there. And remember, they can't talk to him for a year and change. He can't talk to anybody else till the offseason of 2026. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when. Some final thoughts, a pick or two. Our final night, by the way, the 55th consecutive night of football. We'll have it for you coming up.
Whether you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health. Call 239-427-3441 for our Bonita Springs and Naples location to set up your free testosterone test and consultation. Mention Miller Moulton Radio Show for 10% off your service. Find your maximum self with Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples, Florida. Call 239-427-3441 today.
The world-famous cigar bar started as a neighborhood place in downtown Fort Myers, and now it's a brand, a destination, with 4 locations. The original place, Henry Street, Fort Myers, Gulf Coast Town Center, on Southeast 47th Terrace off the Cape Coral Parkway, and the Lounge on West 1st Street in Fort Myers. A place to go, whether you just need a relaxing drink and a smoke after a tough day at work, or a place to go celebrate. From relaxation to celebration, the world-famous cigar bar.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. Problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit SleepTreatmentDirect.com. That's SleepTreatmentDirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
22 minutes. 22 minutes until the top of the hour, 16 until we're done yapping. Miller and Moulton, busy show lined up tomorrow. Lee Sterling for his Thanksgiving and Thanksgiving weekend picks, rivalry weekend in college football. Alex Golish, the South Florida head coach. Roy Cummings to talk Bucks. Bud Elliott to talk all things college football. And Dr. Roto in our Diamond District bonus hour to answer your fantasy football questions. All coming up tomorrow when there will be no football. First time in 8 weeks tomorrow. No football will be played, Mark. College or pro.
How will people get by?
I don't know. They'll have to talk to family. And they will either be arriving with family out of town or family will have arrived in town for them. They'll have to deal with family instead of football. Doesn't seem like a good trade for America, I got to be honest.
You're probably right, David. You're probably right. A couple people have chimed in on the text line and in the Twitch chat room asking about the podcast. There have been some equipment issues in the studio. So I promise I will get the podcast up as soon as is humanly possible. And I'm not exactly sure when that is.
Right. It could take a few hours. Usually takes a few minutes after the show. Likely is going to take until the afternoon hours.
I know where I'm going to be for the next little while.
Not our fault either.
No. And if I would have been made aware of the situation, it would have been a lot easier to rectify than where we are now. But that's the case. It is what it is. We'll get it up there as soon as we can.
So as you can sense, ladies and gentlemen, this is a bit of a sore subject. But Mark took the liberty to alert you anyway, even though to talk about it is driving him nuts.
The only thing, the saving grace right now, is that 52% of you think that wheat thins are delicious.
This is a travesty.
The sad news is that just over 50%, one vote, it was merely tied when the segment began, and someone voted mashed potatoes over stuffing, mashed potatoes with a slight lead over stuffing.
Wow. These both are coming down to the wire here. Love it.
It's that time again, nearing the end, but not quite there yet. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
And today was the day when, brought to you by Game Days Men's Health. If you're chasing peak performance, reigniting intimacy, or simply want to feel your best, Game Day Men's Health creates customized game plans to optimize your health, whether it's testosterone replacement therapy or any other consultation. Call 239-427-3441. That's 239-427-3441. Game Day Men's Health, Bonita Springs and Naples. Make sure you mention the Miller and Moulton radio show for our 10% discount on your service. All right, today, David, we start in 1791. First cabinet meeting was today. G-Dub held it at his house in Philadelphia. By G-Dub, I mean George Washington. Thomas Jefferson, Alexander Hamilton, Secretary of War Henry Knox, and Attorney General Edmund Randolph attended.
Wow, he had been president for nearly 2 years before he held his first cabinet meeting. Good for him.
The University of Notre Dame was founded today in 1842. West Virginia was created as a result of a dispute over slavery with Virginia today in 1861. Alice in Wonderland published today in 1865. In 1896, Amos Alonzo Stagg of the University of Chicago creates the Huddle. It is the birthday of the Huddle, David. You work in sports television and football television. You love the Huddle.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have no idea how great the Huddle is. The Huddle should be passed as a mandatory rule that you must huddle This way we get in all the replays we need to get in. We don't miss anything. It's a better viewing experience for you. You, ladies and gentlemen, have no idea how much you love the huddle, and you don't realize it.
English archaeologist Howard Carter opens King Tut's tomb today in 1922.
Was that like Geraldo and Capone's vault? Did they?
No,
find
it was
anything?
much better.
Gotcha.
No, it was it was nearly intact.
Huh.
I mean, they actually opened it and discovered something, unlike Capone's vault, which was 2 hours of nothing.
Yes, it was.
We all watched.
Yes.
Casablanca premiered today in New York City in 1942. The first Polaroid camera was sold today for $89.75 in 1948. The land camera Model 95 becomes the prototype for all Polaroid land cameras for the next 15 years. 1976, the Sex Pistols release Anarchy in the UK. 82, Howard Cosell calls his last fight, being disgusted by the fight with Larry Holmes
and Tex Cobb.
Randall Tex Cobb, yes.
Yeah. Prime time, by the way. That was aired in prime time on network television when we had 3 networks and PBS. That's how big boxing was.
Guy Lafleur retired today in 1984. 518 goals, 14 years with Les Habitants, retired abruptly today in 1984.
And then he came back years later with the Rangers.
Yeah. Didn't like him in that sweater.
No. Even though it was an original 6. I mean, it wasn't Les Habitants.
Marino set an NFL record with his 343rd touchdown pass today in 95.
Do you know Herbert passed Marino last night on the most yards in first 5 years of your career list? And I remember thinking to myself, this is Dan Marino's first year was, or first 5 years were the mid-'80s. Passing then versus passing now. And it took Herbert, who averaged 39 attempts a game for the first 4 years of his career. And it took him to the latter moments of year 5 for him to pass Marino. Marino was amazing.
Steve Yzerman scored his 600th goal today in 1999.
Is that any good?
That's not bad.
He'd play for like 7 more years, too.
Charles Schultz and Tina Turner would have celebrated birthdays today. Dale Jarrett's 68 and Harold Reynolds is 64. What did I miss, David?
Not a damn thing. Although I will say we were winning the Korean War, okay, until today. Today was the day that China decided, we warned you guys. We said you're steamrolling through this North Korea. You're getting too close to us. We warned you to stop. And MacArthur was like, I'm not stopping. And the Chinese said, well, okay. And they sent 300,000 troops at us. And we started going backwards.
Those are pretty big numbers.
Yeah. Today was the day the Korean War became a stalemate. Just saying. When you watch MASH reruns, now you know.
Time to see life a little bit differently. Here's Mark Miller with the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
For the good, we go to Massachusetts. We're in Middleborough. The Coffee Milano Cafe gave out some free coffee if you walk in and give them your best dance move for 5 seconds. As much as I see David Moulton dance during the starting 5, I can just see if the opportunity for free French fries is ever available at a fast food restaurant for dancing for 5 seconds.
Can I dance for longer?
Yes.
Great.
They thought it might work, but they didn't know it would go viral. Their little promotion got them 7.6 million views on TikTok alone. Now, apparently, they're going to do it again. Makes sense. For the bad, we go to Cape Coral. where a TikTok influencer was arrested for shoplifting at a local Target. Not the first time the influencer's been arrested. She was arrested in 2019 and charged with grand theft. This was a little more petty. She ripped off 16 items valued at $500 from a Target in Cape Coral using a fake barcode at a self-checkout. And finally, the ugly. We go to Japan, where police had to set up security cameras at a Japanese school after students' shoes started disappearing. Initially thought that Rex Ryan
Look at you.
was in Japan, but that's not the case. 15 shoes vanished from the school in early November. 3 more were taken the following day. Turns out it was a weasel. No, a real weasel. The security footage captured the weasel stealing shoes at the school. And that, David, is the good, the bad, and the ugly. On today, Tuesday, November the 26th, brought to you by the Cape Coral Police Department. Go to capecops.com. That's capecops.com. A $10,000 sign-on bonus for new officers simply by going to capecops.com for all the information.
Only 2 games in the NHL tonight. They're not nationally televised. Vancouver and Boston, the Hockey Club of Utah in Montreal. Speaking of the habitants. NBA, 5 games. Oh, it's the NBA Cup night. Oh, yeah, these are more
NBA
important.
Cup. I love the NBA Cup.
NBA Cup. Miami's hosting Milwaukee, 7:30. 10 o'clock, Lakers at Phoenix. Both these games on TNT. You know the drill. Tuesdays, TNT. Wednesdays, ESPN. College hoops today and tonight. Whole bunch of action going on. Houston, Alabama. 8 o'clock on TBS, by the way. A top 10 matchup between Houston and Alabama. 8 o'clock on TBS. 9 o'clock tonight on the 4-letter network. Kansas and Duke. 11 o'clock tonight on the 4-letter network. Auburn and North Carolina from Maui. So Kansas and Duke's from Vegas at 9. Auburn, North Carolina at 11 from Maui. That'll play. So there.
Did you mention the Maction?
I did not. I was saving it for last.
I mean, we've got Maction. It's the final night.
55th night in a row of football in America. Yep. Are you going to let the people know what's in store for them tonight? Because it's not every night, Mark, that you can get a winless team.
Buffalo is hosting winless Kent State. Buffalo is a 24-point favorite.
Is anybody else winless in Division 1A college football?
I don't believe so.
I don't either. I think Kent State's the only 0-11.
That's rough.
It is rough.
The Golden Flashes are probably in trouble tonight, too.
I know. The other game is Toledo, 7 o'clock on ESPN2 at Akron.
That's the end of the distraction that is Maction.
Oh, so sad. So sad. But Kent State is so bad the game's not even on an ESPN network. It's on Plus, if you know what I mean.
College basketball getting the nod over Maction to tell you just how bad the game is tonight. They can't even find a network for it.
Nope. They're like, we'll stream it. That's the best we can do. So there you have it. Good show lined up. It will be posted at millerandmoulton.com this afternoon. Pat Kirwan, David Samson, and Chris Perkins. Tomorrow, terrific show. Lee Sterling, Roy Cummings, Alex Golish, the football coach at South Florida, They're bowl eligible, by the way. They're hoping to do one better than they did last year in the regular season. And then Bud Elliott and Dr. Roto all tomorrow. Not bad.
College Football Committee will give their rankings tonight, and we'll see how everything shakes out.
How far did the SEC schools drop that lost? Alabama, Ole Miss, and A&M. How high does Arizona State get? Are they above the 3-loss SEC schools? How close are they to Boise? Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening. We started our show 18 years ago and have been fired 3 times, but Miller and Moulton have never lived on the edge like we are now. We have our best morning ratings ever, are steadily adding affiliates, yet we only have a few sponsors. And if that doesn't change, we can't continue. But if you want to advertise on Miller and Moulton, reach out to one of us directly by texting sponsor to 21,000 or contact Mark on X at @MarkMiller or me at @TheDavidMoulton. You can save Miller and Moulton and make your business some serious money by texting 21,000 now.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Gentlemen, as your wife mentioned getting new flooring, but you don't want to go through the hassle, well, go see the Floor Meisters in Naples next to Costco. They understand your time and money are important, so they'll make it as painless as possible. With a huge in-stock selection of carpet and Cortec, they can get you the floor your wife's been asking for. They carry wood, vinyl, carpet, and tile. If you do it yourself, no problem. They can handle that as well. So go see TJ at the Floor Meisters and tell them, just keeping it real.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
For more than 22 years, Jason and Todd have celebrated Thanksgiving weekend with the Diamond District family. This year, they're kicking off the holidays with luxury, and it starts with free silver and gold bars and coins. With any purchase of $900 or more, Jason and Todd will give you gold and silver bars and coins, depending on how much you spend. Jason and Todd will be in the store all weekend to ensure you receive the best buying experience at the Diamond District.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing. They are currently looking for police officers and are offering a $10,000 signing bonus to newly hired officers. If you desire a career in law enforcement, or if you are already in law enforcement and thinking about making a move to a better agency, think Cape Coral Police Department. If you're looking for a police department that is committed to excellence, that invests in the highest level of training, state-of-the-art equipment, and some of the highest compensation in all of Southwest Florida, then the Cape Coral Police Department is for you. Visit capecops.com. That's capecops.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.